May 15th, and I will call the zoning board of appeals meeting to order. With me tonight, I have Rob Scott, Sean Zahn, John Benares, Brian Zalisi, Catherine Howe, and myself. On the first and the third application, Brian Zalisi will not be voting. On the second application, 9 Bennett, Brian will be voting because I will be recusing myself and removing myself to the audience, and Catherine Howe will lead that section. So the first item on the agenda is 35 School Street. I will open the public hearing for the application of James Gaddis for a special permit under sections 5.4, 7.2, and 12.5 of the zoning bylaw and other relief as may be necessary to extend the current encroachment into the setbacks and the variance under sections 5.4 and 12.3.3 of the zoning bylaw and other relief as may be necessary for excess coverage by structures and excess total coverage by structures and impervious surfaces. At 35 School Street, Assessor's Map number 51, Lot number 5, and District D1, filed with Town Clerk on March 21st, 2024. Mr. Gaddis, are you going to present the application?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Veronica's here, and I think I'm gonna leave the important stuff to Veronica.
Okay, Veronica, could you just give us your name and your relationship to the application?
My name is Veronica Hobson, and my business is Taproot Design. I'm the designer for the project at 35 School Street. And can I share my screen and I can walk everyone through it?
Just a second. You should be all set.
Okay, try that again. Perfect. Okay. So the property is on the corner of School Street and Brook. So School is a fairly major thoroughfare in that neighborhood. Brook Street is a one-way turning off of School and yeah, heading, where are we? East. This is it from the corner here. This is the existing house today. The proposal before the board is to seek a special permit to demolish this structure along with the accessory structures and to construct a new two-family dwelling on this lot that would front Brook Street, so the side street. This house, which purchased by Jim late last year, and it was unfortunately the house is in great disrepair. It was an unfortunate situation. I think it was an unfortunate hoarding situation that went on there, and the home as it currently stands is beyond salvage. And in fact, if I take you down Brook Street, this garage shed has already been removed because it was falling in. So as a safety precaution and a liability issue, since it sits right on the property line, this section of the structure has already been removed. But what we're proposing to do is to take the entire structure down and to construct a two-family. This property is in the D1 residential district. It is permissible use for this district. It's not inconsistent with other neighboring properties. In fact, the property right next door on 3 Brook Street, so this is 35 School right here on the corner. This property is already under construction with a two-family structure going in. You can see as we move down Brook and Desmond and North Street and even down School Street, we have several two-family and then even multi-family structures throughout this neighborhood. Let me take you back. Sorry, I'm going to take you to Gale's survey here. So the light blue lines, you can see that's the existing structure. This is the existing house here with wooden deck and steps that reach down to the property line towards School Street. There's a covered porch and a deck off the back that you can see back here. And then that is the shed that is almost on the property line that's been removed, but was there at the time of survey. The existing structure currently exceeds the front yard setback right at this corner by 5.5 feet. It exceeds the side yard setback. I think this is the side yard setback by 9.4 feet at its tightest corner. And then it does move away a little bit. We're 3.1 feet off at the front corner. And the existing shed was about maybe 6 inches off of that property line. So that also was over the setback. The proposed structure pulls away from the corner just a little bit. So we would be exceeding the front setback by 5 feet. We've pulled the rear line away from the property line. So we would be 5 feet off of that side lot line. We're conforming here and we're conforming for most of this just in this, it's just this area in that front setback along Brook and School. I'm going to show you the plan. So what we are proposing to do is to construct 2 modest two-family or a two-family home with each unit being a modest 1,643 square feet of living space. You can see each unit is a mirror of the other. We have an open floor plan on the first floor, just up a few steps with an open living space, dining area, kitchen, and an entry, a little half bath, and a little mudroom pass through to the 1-car garage. Each unit would have a parking space out in front of that garage. You go up the stairs and each unit has 3 bedrooms and a small office space here. And there are 2 full baths on that upper level. The attic is accessible by a pull down stair. This is the new front elevation. So we would front this house along Brook Street rather than School Street. That's where we have the longer reach with the orientation of the lot. It also allows the traffic the cars not to be backing out onto a more major road and rather onto this kind of tertiary road of Brook, with minimizing any kind of traffic disruption along School Street. The architecture of the structure is taken from the surrounding homes. The scale, the material, and the language is all taken from homes that are in the area. And just to give you a sense of context here. Bear with, sorry, keep getting that menu popping up. So the property that we're talking about is right here on the corner. So this is Brook, this is School, this is the abutting property. And we are just beyond these trees right here. You can see that the neighborhood has a mix of aesthetics, but most of these homes are 2-story, kind of a colonial-esque type of home. Some of them are older, some of them are, newer, some are in disrepair. the intention is that the architecture here blends in with the neighborhood and the direction of the neighborhood. The garage, this middle portion is set back significantly. So really, when you look at the house on the bias, it's these two pieces that come forward, kind of creating the illusion of two separate structures, and then it steps back, and you can see how far it steps back here with that light dashed line, with the garage kind of really push back, and we would change the material there to kind of further create a visual break between the two structures. We were trying to avoid having this look too large, and even from the side, this would be the elevation viewed from School Street. We're keeping the proportion of this quite small. I mean, we're doing that for a couple of reasons. We're doing that to keep it in proportion with the existing and the existing homes in the area, but also the homes that are currently under construction. We're also doing this because we realize that we're working with a small lot, and so we're trying to minimize the footprint of the house as much as possible, but yet still create create units that feel very livable for a young family. This would be the elevation along the back. So if I come back to the locus, it is right here. It's the elevation that is between 35 School Street and 2 Desmond Ave. And again, 2 Desmond is this structure right here. So it already is quite long, and we would be backing up to that. But this is also the elevation that we're pulling away from the lot line by 5 feet. Even though it's getting longer, the current house is within 6 inches of the lot line. This one now gives us 5 feet to move around the structure for maintenance, construction, without violating lot lines. This would be the opposite elevation, and this is now this elevation between 35 School Street and 3 Brook Street, and that has the full 10-foot setback plus a few inches between this last elevation and that side lot line. So the driving force of, let me just go here, the driving force for this project was to, design something that was consistent with the neighborhood and that the direction that the neighborhood is going in. There are, as I'd mentioned earlier, there are many 2 families on both of these streets, Brook and School, and then all of the neighboring streets. It is within a half a mile of the commuter rail system. This is a great neighborhood to take advantage of that. And I think that's probably it. I mean, I'm happy to answer. I'm sure you have questions, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. But I think that kind of gives you a good sense of where we'd like to head with this.
Okay, let me ask members of the board if they have questions. John?
I guess one question is the plan to have this as a long-term hold, or is it to make it into 2 condos and then sell them?
The home, well, Jim has the intention of holding on to one of these units, and then being able to, I believe, sell. I think maybe this is a condo situation. Jim can probably answer that better than I can. But his intention is to hold on to one for his own personal use, and the sale of, or the rent generated by the abutting unit obviously helps the economics of not selling and keeping the other unit for himself.
That's correct, guys. I think I'm gonna take the one on School Street. And I don't know about selling or renting the other unit yet. I just don't know the answer to that yet.
Okay, thank you.
John, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Rob?
No questions.
Yeah,
Not right now.
No, I'm just looking at the impervious coverage there. Well exceeds the allowable there.
and the coverage by structures also does.
I'm more or less, I'm very concerned with the impervious. I don't, if that's subject to a lot of flooding down there, or that's the only concern I have at this point.
Can I
Um,
speak to that briefly?
Please.
Yes, please, we need
So-
you to demonstrate a hardship.
So Jim and I have discussed the impervious surface. And, you know, we know we're super close with the structure coverage, but the impervious surface, we talked about the desire to do I know we have to take out the driveway by default, but that driveway could be a pervious surface, as would the walkways from from each of these porches to the roadway, which would help that percentage, that number. So we did talk about kind of foregoing an asphalt type of drive and doing something that would allow the water to seep through instead.
Is there space for cars to park between the garage and Brook Street?
There are. Let me go back to the locust map. There. So we sized this to accommodate a vehicle in front of each, which is one of the main, actually, it is the main driver as to where this structure sits relative to this lot line, was to make sure that we could, in fact, fit a car outside of each of these of each of the garages. And the garage itself, we also kept a fairly minimum depth. I don't know if it's noted on here, but it's only 20 feet front to back. So it's not 22, 24. We kept it really at a minimum to maximize the amount of clearance that we have in front of each garage bay.
Now, according to the information in the application, the coverage by structures is 45.9%, where 40% is allowed. What hardship is there with respect, that would require a variance? So what hardship is with respect to the size of the structure?
Well, I mean, I think that really speaks to the floor plan itself and the first floor. We really are working with a very efficient and tight floor plan. We're also trying to make this livable. So even though this, I'm not showing furniture in the floor plans here, which would probably help explain what I'm trying to explain now. These spaces really are minimally sized to accommodate furniture. I mean, we're really driven by the lot size. The lot size I know is not necessarily a hardship, but that really is the driver. We have created a small footprint for a full 3-bedroom home. We haven't put any extra space on the first floor, so everything is going upstairs. But we really have whittled this down to, you can even see the width by the front door. We've whittled down all of the spaces as much as we can, but still made a livable first floor plan.
Any more questions from the board before I turn it over to Billy?
No questions.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I really understood. So you're saying the hardship is the lot size?
Well, I think it's the shape of the lot is also part of the problem.
Okay.
Let me come back to Gail's survey. You know, I get tripped up on what is technically the hardship. I mean, we have whittled everything down. The hardship really is trying to do a 2-family in this district where we are limited by the shape of the lot and the size of the lot and left with a pretty limited buildable lot area. So, I mean, I think there is no way to further shrink this footprint without tripping over into an unmarketable unit and an unlivable unit on the first floor. We are trying to keep the home consistent with those in the neighborhood. So that's also a strong consideration for this. And, you know, I mean, I really do think that is the hardship, is just we're limited by what this lot allows, period, for a two-family.
So the hardship is you want to put two-family there instead of a single family.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I think that benefits, it suits the neighborhood. I think it benefits the town. And I think it makes this project a economically viable project for Jim.
Yes, Sean?
I don't, looking at these plans and adding up the figures, almost any structure they put on this, whether they do single family or not, is gonna be within the setbacks.
Yeah, I agree that the setbacks are an issue. My concern is the variance required with respect to coverage by structures. This is in a zone that has the most lenient coverage requirements that we have in the town of Manchester. And so, I mean, I think that the total coverage by structures and impervious surface, they can fix with pervious materials on the driveway and the walkways. But the coverage by structures, you solve that by building a smaller house.
And I think that you can see, I mean, really, if you look at the floor plan, you can see this is not an overly generous house. It really isn't. It is, where are we? We are 24 by 30. That's a very small footprint for a home. We've kept the garage at a single car garage and a short one at that. There is no extra space anywhere in this floor plan. I mean, we started with one thing and got the survey back, and we whittled that plan down as much as we could.
It was over by 254 square feet.
You needed a calculator to do that?
You would too.
Yeah. I did.
How was the history?
Yes, Rob.
Numbers don't keep happening to me.
I mean, you could have a 24 by 30 with a 2-car garage and a single family home and be well within the conforming lot with no issues. But you'd have the single family home.
So the hardship here is they want to put
Right.
Well,
They want a 2-family home.
right, and
see that as a hardship.
the challenge is that a variance requires
You
that,
could have a larger.
right,
Sorry.
a variance requires that it's due to circumstances relating to the soil condition, shape, or topography of the land or structures. That affects this property, not the other. I don't see anything in the variance parameters that reference a smaller lot. And this is a non-conforming lot. It's 4,300 instead of 6,000, which limits what you can do. Any more questions from the board, or should I put it out to the public?
I'm good.
Okay. There seem to be a number of people. I would ask that people speak only once. And if you're gonna say exactly what somebody else said, I prefer that you say you agree with what they've said instead of completely restating what they've said in order for it not to last all night. And When you're recognized, you'll need to state your name and address. So that we have it in the minutes. Okay, is there anybody in the room that would like to speak? Raise your hand. Yes, sir, in the doorway.
Yeah, Tom Henderson, 23 Brook Street. The first thing immediately I see about what's intended here is you're creating a tremendous safety hazard. You're gonna have people pulling out onto Brook Street at a corner of an intersection blindly. Here's, there's two structures in front of the little bar. You're backing out, pulling out. There is a sidewalk there now. That's the main commuting route to delivering kids to school and also kids who walk to school. It's an extremely dangerous turn in onto that one way. People coming down School Street from Essex, cut the corner, turn in there blindly, and people coming up School Street do the exact same thing. And if you're coming out of a parking lot that is screened by two wings, as I see the thing here, you're coming out blindly across the sidewalk and into a one-way street. But people already travel very fast, make that turn extremely fast. And besides all the other things, I think it's totally ridiculous putting this type of structure on a tiny little lot like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Please raise your hand. Yes, sir.
To Gutal, 17 Desmond Avenue. Well, in general, I favor two-family, multi-family houses, and I wish that this were a feasible thing here because I'm in favor of it. And I'm against taking one-family houses and turning them into, taking two-family houses and turning them into a single-family house in our community. But with respect to this, I wonder if I was concerned about where these cars were gonna go. And I think the previous gentleman, I agree with the safety thing. I wonder if the party that's doing this has considered, forget about the garage, but the two living spaces that maybe do not have a living space over the garage, but put the two living spaces together, make the two-family house. And just put don't put a garage, just put a gravel parking space out at the other end there. One thing that would move the backup and the further away from the corner. And would also give you solve the problem of the house taking up too much impervious space. And they still have their two-family house.
Thank you. Hold on just a moment. Gail, you have your hand raised? Sorry, this is our administrator. I need to find out if she's got a problem.
I was gonna ask you to take the, so I could see who was speaking, if you could take that. Thank you. That's what I was gonna ask.
Thank you. Okay.
That was it.
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am?
My name is Gail Masiero, 7 Brook Street. There has just been so much construction on Brook Street and Desmond Ave, and the unit, the dwelling that they put up there is huge. I can't believe that we let that pass. I don't know where I was, but I don't know, didn't seem to get that notice.
3 Brook
But-
Street.
3 Brook Street, right, Pepper's old house.
Well, that's the 3 Brook Street is not.
No, I
before
know,
us.
but it has.
Nothing
it is
to do with this
it is- I'm just
application.
saying, it's a 2-family, also a condo. I just don't know where all these cars are gonna park. We have a really tight issue with parking now. And you put in a 2-family, there's at least 2 cars in every family, if there's a husband and wife. And then there's kids. I mean, in my house on 7 and 9 Brook Street, there's 5 cars. And we do have a driveway. We park end to end in the winter, but there's always a problem with parking out there. And I mean, you can only park on one side of the street and it is always full. I mean, our other thing, I guess you could park at Brook Street, but you can't always park there either. So my issue is the parking and the size of the dwellings. I just think it takes up too much space. I think it's a beautiful plan, but I just think it's too big for that corner there. And as Tom said, coming around that corner, even my next door neighbor coming out of her driveway, I worry all the time because people come down that street. I know it's 20 miles an hour, but you know, and you're braking and turning a corner, but they speed up down there. And I just think it's very dangerous and it's thickly settled anyway.
Thank you. And just to make clear on the parking situation, the bylaw requires 1.5 parking spaces per unit rounded up. So a 2-family, 4 spaces for a 2-family exceeds the minimum required of 3. And that's what we would be looking at is what's in the bylaw. I'm not saying that the bylaw is what people want, but if they don't like the bylaw, they need to change the bylaw, not expect the
So
ZBA to change
can I
it.
just ask another question?
Yeah,
On these garages, are they like, there's one in the garage and then one behind it?
that's what she's saying.
So
So
there's
that's 4.
4.
Yeah,
And that's all on their property?
yes.
Hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Ellen Koniski. I live at 37 School Street, and I hate to talk in public. But anyway,
We won't bite you.
okay. I've lived across from that property for a long time. It's not supposed to be for 2 families. It's just for 1 family. If you could build a single family home, I'm kind of worried he's gonna rent or sell part of it and then Airbnb the other part of it because he lives in Beverly. It could be a beautiful property. And the other thing too is the parking is so tight. We have to put out cones to trim the bushes because people come down the street and they take the corner too tight. I get hit almost by bicycles because people come down with their bicycles and then I got the dogs out and they almost take me and the dogs out. And then the fire trucks come up and that's a different corner entirely. And I tried to explain that to him because at least I can see up School Street when I pull out of my driveway, but I can't see down School Street. So it's a 50-50, but I'm in better shape than a lot of people on School Street. And there is no parking and everybody wants to park there. And it's like, it's freaking insane. And it doesn't belong to be a 2-family. It's supposed to be a 1-family. It could be a beautiful family home if somebody just used that properly right.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I don't know if I'm repeating, but I'm Sean Willems at 8 Brook Street. And I would only say that lot is 4230 square feet, as I know you know, and I know you know that 3 Brook Street is conforming. So they have every right to build what they build there. But this person bought this property knowing what the size of this lot was, went in with full information. There were 10 other bidders on this property. They shouldn't get to build. This was a single family home and that's how the lot was sized.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the room wish to speak or should I move to the Zoom? Yes, ma'am.
Katerina Gates, I'm the older person or family.
Excuse me, please, give
Katerina
me street
Gates.
address.
Desmond and School Street,
Okay.
next door to the place.
Okay.
I have a question for this lady. What is the side, the frontage of School Street? Because I know it's 38 feet. Do they have 38 feet in their plan?
So we have, here, can I do a quick screen share again and I can
Sure.
do that? Okay. So this is School Street here. You can see that the frontage starts on School and then there's a radius that then extends down Brook. So we're 29.99 from this point to the very start of that radius. And then we've got, what does it look like? About 20 to 22 feet along the radius. And then we have another 85.85. So there's, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. So we have another 31.35 and 45. So we have total frontage. We've got 129.24 feet when 60.
Excuse me.
wide.
Can you ask the lady, I asked the frontage.
I think it's 29.99.
29.9.
Plus a portion of the
Yes.
radius.
Okay, our home, okay, this property was a mill originally for the owner of our house in the 1800s. That's why it has the same foundations like our home. Our home is 4 acres, 5 acres. All these properties were divided, you know, when they sold, they didn't care for boundaries, they divided them where they felt like. So anyway, I saw the 38 feet on the front when they applied for a petition, which I knew from our plan, it was 38 feet of their own. And I thought, how can they fit a structure if they live in the front of school and on the side of Brook? They have to, in the back, if you take the right footage, that property doesn't have much space except that much. That opening there is ours, and it has all that back room, which was the drying the goods and drying the vegetables and everything, which we have as a family room. It was still the old things inside. And under it, the owners before this gentleman bought it, they were, when we bought the house, it was caved under. They were taking the rocks or the foundation, and we've got somebody to cement. That's why it's a big cave under there. We have to leave it. So it's very close. And living, we're the only ones in this case. We own our house since '87. We have, it's like 6 feet, 6 trees, this property between them and us. They were 60 feet tall, hemlocks. And we had on the Pepper side, which is the other property we just heard earlier, the 11 hemlocks. They were killed by the hemlock virus. We're the only ones who planted trees, we planted shrubs to replace what we lost. These other 2 people who owned them didn't care about anything. So they didn't, or they did have grass and plantings at 3 Brook Street, and they did a nice job, but we have on the Elm Street, which I think is going to be evaporated soon. But are we concerned about having, we're not yet on the MBTA plan. Why are we? They call this the village. When we moved there, we moved it because we bought the property because of what it was. We like the trees, we like the area, the space. Now they're putting us in a cage on both sides with 2 family homes that don't belong really, the size of them. It's not that what they do with how many, it's the size.
Thank you, Ms. Gates. I think that this is a non-conforming lot. And the property owner of a non-conforming lot is allowed to build on a non-conforming lot because there's an existing structure.
You care about the current one, that we're talking about, the.
Yes, there is a
35
house,
school.
35
Yes,
schools.
yes, you can.
There's a house on the property.
Yes,
The property owner has the right
Oh, yes.
to rebuild.
Right.
The only thing before us is the coverage of the structures, the coverage of the total structures and impervious surface, and the special permit for the setbacks.
May I ask you?
Where you
to
don't
ask-
deal with trees or
No,
anything
no,
like that.
but we had a different kind of living, and they're choking us now. And we have a right as people who live there to have more than just what other people buy them to sell,
That,
compared to the ones who live there.
okay, thank you, but that would require a change in the bylaw. That's not under the purview of the ZBA. If the citizens of Manchester want to change the bylaw to require a certain number of trees on each property, they can do that if they can get it passed at a town meeting.
I
But
understand.
That's not our
I understand
responsibility.
that. I didn't say that they have to do this, but I'm saying what happens and what happens.
It's relevant.
Thank you.
So may I say, continue for 1 second? Can I ask you, through you, that lady, what is the backside that is going to be against us, the building? How far away from us is going to be?
Okay, so she's asking for the setback from the rear property line.
So the property line to 2 Desmond or the property line to 3 Brook?
The 2 Desmond.
The 2 Desmond, it'll be 5 feet off the property line. The current house is 0.6, is 6 inches off the property line.
So because they're already in the setback, they need a special
I
permit
understand.
to extend that nonconformity.
I have to add something here because I know I'm not gonna be able to say anything else. I have with me 37 letters from people who bombard older people to sell their homes for cash or whatever, to build whatever. These are all developers. This gentleman I talked to, he came to my home, who bought it. After I met him, And he said to me that he was going to renovate it. He lives in Beverly Farms. He does renovations to live himself. There is no way he is coming to live himself. It's like everybody else, buying them to sell. They don't care what happens to the people who live there. They don't, and that's my problem. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, but that's not something before the ZBA.
I know it's not, but that's what is
But
happening.
yes, I understand. I have new houses on both sides of me, so I understand.
I don't mind the all.
Yes, sir.
Two Desmond Avenue. What is the required setback for construction from the back property line?
10 feet.
I object to being surrounded by a 5-foot requirement of a building. And I think that the special permit required to 5 feet should be utterly denied and not allowed to encroach any closer to our property than the existing building did at that particular point where the building
6
used to
inches.
be, or will used to be.
Thank you.
And
6 inches.
the ambience of the whole neighborhood is being created in a tenement district. The ambience, I think, is something that should look at, and I think the guy should be filing as a developer, regardless,
Well,
subject to the developing.
this is in zone D1, which allows 2 family houses. So it doesn't, anybody can file under the application. Having heard from everyone in the room, I believe, I will see if there's anybody on Zoom who would like to speak. If so, please raise your hand and speak, and you'll be in Zoom and you'll be recognized. I do not see anybody raising their hand. With that, I will turn it back to the board.
All I can say is I think it's a great design. Might be the wrong place.
Right.
We voting,
No,
No,
we're
just talking.
discussing.
discussing?
Never miss an opportunity to talk.
So we have 2 things to consider. One is a special permit, which is with respect to the front and the south side setbacks. Front setbacks and the front side setbacks. And that has a standard that it will not be substantially more detrimental or injurious to the neighborhood in which it is located than the existing non-conforming structure. And then we have the variance for the coverage by structures and coverage by structures and impervious surface, which requires a hardship owing to circumstances relating to the soil conditions, shape, or topography of the land.
I mean, is there really a hardship?
That's the question, right?
Right.
Stereo.
I don't know if that question's been answered yet tonight.
Well, that's what we have to determine is whether the applicant has demonstrated a hardship. That's for us to determine,
I don't think so.
okay?
And we've denied people before who come here, to build investment properties. But they can't really show a hardship to us.
Mhm.
So I see this as a case like that. I like the design. I agree though with Brian that it is the wrong place for it. I am concerned about the driveway. And, there's about 10 feet of structure that blocks the driver's sight, line of sight as they're backing out of the driveway. I think the massing is is large, especially when you look at the garage structure in the middle with the level above. Just looking at where the existing driveway is now, it's over here. Now you're moving it, you know, closer to that curb.
Yeah.
And I'm driving down that street at least 4 or 5 times a day. And, you know, with the kids going to school and all that, so I know that street very well. I'm always on high alert, going down that street. There's a lot of kids there. So I would like to see, the applicant go back to the drawing board and maybe propose something that, I'm not adverse to the concept of a 2-family, but perhaps making that into one structure and then even, you know, thinking about a freestanding garage off where the existing driveway is, I don't know, but, and perhaps you've discussed this when you were going through various concepts, but I just think as it's proposed right now, the scale is just too large. So that's my opinion.
Sean?
I think with anything, it's, if you do anything with the 2-family here, you're gonna run into the amount of footage. It's gonna exceed too much, even if you combine both of those footprints and push the garage to the back or park into the back, you're still gonna run into the same problem with the coverage. I don't think a hardship is really been shown.
Can I offer just one more thought on the question of parking?
Yes.
My time has ended, but if I can just add one other thing in response to, you know, did we consider, you know, a separate garage structure? We absolutely did. That it doesn't help us. In fact, it hurt us because we weren't able to capitalize on the second floor over the garage. The other thing that we did consider, though, was digging down and doing a garage below the structure. And that would have certainly reduced our footprint. But the problem with that was managing water runoff, as somebody had mentioned earlier in the meeting. There is water along that area in that neighborhood, and managing water by putting the garage below the structure just seemed like just a recipe for disaster. We were asking for trouble there, but that was also something we had considered in an effort to reduce the footprint.
Thank you. I think that the elimination of the garage would reduce the structure by 480 square feet, which would bring you into compliance with the coverage by structures. So it seems like there may be opportunities. Anton, I've taken all questions from the public. I'll give you one chance if you want to ask a question, but we closed that off when we went back to the board. Do you want to speak, Anton? No, okay.
I just, I don't agree with John, which really bothers me.
You agree with him?
Is that, I think that, I mean, I don't think any of us is opposed to another 2 families in town. I think we're sorely lacking in housing. But I think that you have wants and you have needs. And I think that you could probably cross the want off the garage. All right, scale this thing way back and come back. But right now, I don't think you need a garage.
Yeah, but where are you gonna put the cars?
Well, I think that by moving everything closer together, okay, we've created a parking field. Okay, but that's their design, not mine.
Catherine, do you have anything to say?
I don't really have anything to add. I basically feel the same as everyone else. I think this is a lovely design. I think we need more 2 families. I don't have a problem with the 2-family at this location. I just, unfortunately, this seems a little oversized for the lot, and I am concerned with the blind pullout onto Brook Street. I also am down there all the time with my kids on bikes and on the way to school, and it is a dangerous corner. So I think we could, I think a 2-family could go in here. And I think it would be great. I'm not sure this design is gonna work on this lot. It's so in excess of the lot coverage, and there really hasn't been an articulated hardship. Unfortunately.
With that,
This is Anton. I just figured out how to unmute myself. If it's still possible to speak, I'd appreciate it. If not, so be it.
very briefly, please state your name and address.
Okay, it's my name is Anton Kobus, 2 Bell Court. Two primary things is lot coverage, which from my point of view is more 50-50 pervious, impervious, and setbacks all the way around. If I look at the property next door, I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but it seems, I looked at it today, I can't imagine that that property has a 50-50 pervious, impervious. For this one here, I'm not sure how that's going to work. And to speak to the others who've spoken about safety on the road with where the garages are placed, I'm not sure. Those are my thoughts, and thank you for permitting me.
Thank you. So it appears, Mr. Gaddis, that we do not, in order for a successful approval of the application, there needs to be 4 members of the board voting in favor of the application. It appears from the conversation of the board that we do not have 4 members who support the application as submitted. You do have an opportunity to continue the hearing and come back with different designs if you so desire.
Yeah, I
Or-
think that's,
Okay,
go ahead. I think that's our only option.
Yeah, I think we would request a continuance at this point, please.
Okay. So I'll make a motion, at the request of the applicant to continue, the application of James Gaddis, for a special permit and variances at 35 School Street to 7 p.m. on June 26, 2024, and to extend the board's deadline for filing its decision until September 17th of 2024. Do I have a second?
I second.
Sean seconds. I'll take a vote. Catherine,
Yes.
Brian, you're not voting. John,
Approved.
Sean,
Approved.
Robert,
Yes.
and Sarah votes yes.
Madam Chairman, can I just say one thing before you close your meeting? I would request that they take very carefully the consideration of the safety issue. Just go down and stand on that corner between 7:30 and 8:30, and you'll see. And it's not just pulling out, it's backing out blindly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we thank the board for their time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. We'll be sending this off for your signature.
Okay, thank you.
You know how you people co-host? Okay. You're up on Zoom. Okay. I've made Mr. a co-host. But somebody's gonna have to look at my computer to see if people's hands are raised.
I can do
I
that.
can do
I
that.
can-
No,
As long
we
as
can-
it's up.
I'm a host. Do you have Zoom up?
Come zoom up on this, we can see raised hands.
Okay, good, okay. So the next application is 9 Bennett Street. Since I am a direct abutter to 9 Bennett Street, I will be recusing myself from participating in this application. Catherine Howe will be running this portion of the meeting. I will be removing myself to the audience, and I do plan to speak as a private citizen with respect to the application, with the expectation that the board will understand that my comments are personal and not as a member of the board. Thank you.
Calling on you.
Start. All right, guys, bear with me here. I don't usually do this part, but I'm gonna work on it. So I am going to open, the public hearing for the application of Jill M. Ryankowski Doyle and Timothy P. Doyle, filed with the town clerk on April 22nd, 2024, for a special permit under sections 5.4, 7.2, and 12.5.1. Variance under sections 5.2 and 12.3.3 of the zoning bylaws, and or other relief as may be necessary to demolish the existing two-family residence and construct a new single-family residence at 9 Bennett Street, Assessors Map number 28, lot number 10 in District A, thereby decreasing the existing non-conforming encroachment into the front setback and decreasing the existing non-conforming encroachment in the side setback bordering 7 Bennett Street, but creating new non-conformities by encroaching into the required side setback bordering 11 Bennett and exceeding permissible lot coverage by structures and impervious surfaces. Is there someone present here to present the application?
Yes, I am. My name is Joe Dean. My office is on 86 Dodge Street in Beverly, and I'm here tonight representing Jill Ryankowski Doyle and Timothy Doyle. They are the owners of 9 Bennett Street that they purchased in September of 2023. And if I can share the screen, I have a quick PowerPoint that I'd like to walk through.
I made him the co-host. I think you're all set.
Just, I'm done, right?
Oh, sorry.
Haven't been recognized.
So, 9 Bennett Street is, it's a very old property, 1730. It's presently a two-family home, in the town of Manchester. The applicants are looking to, tear it down and build a single-family home on the lot. It is a very challenging lot for a number of reasons, and I'm happy to kind of run through the PowerPoint with you and then answer questions as we go. Madam Chairman, I did run through our request for a special permit and variance and covered it perfectly fine. As a part of our application, we addressed section 12.52 and all the criteria. I'll be happy to run through that at the end if you like. This is an above view of the property. We have a circle here. It's a primary residential neighborhood with mixed colonial and some new modern homes that have recently gone up. It is, this end of Bennett Street, it's kind of a gateway to a much larger neighborhood or community in Manchester. It's close to the ocean. It is a very narrow street with limited parking. One of the improvements that we think we have made that is going to benefit everybody is the addition, part of the proposal is to have a 2-car garage that will get some parking out of the driveway off the street. Should help everybody. Presently, there's limited parking. We're going to increase that. And this lot itself, it's a very tricky lot. My next screen here will show you the plan from Gail Smith, our engineer. I should mention that my clients are on Zoom in attendance here, as well as our architect, Craig Bosworth. And Craig may be able to answer any questions that you may have as well as we get rolling through this. If you look at the lot here, and those of you that were at the site visit were able to see it. It is a very challenging 0.3 acre lot. It's 13,180 square feet. The westerly portion that borders 11 Bennett Street is a very steep ledge that kind of wraps around the back of it. Along the back, like this is Tanglewood back here. It's a very steep slope with visible ledge and rock outcroppings. Due to the shape of the lot, if we just look at the shape of it before I go further, because I did listen to you, we are considering hardships. So just so you know, for the hardships that we'd be looking for, we believe that we do have soil issues. We definitely have topography issues with the slope and the ledge. And then the right side, the northeasterly side of the property here that borders 7, if you follow my arrow here, you'll see how we have these very funny jagged lines that kind of follow along that lot line. That makes it a very unique lot. And the present structure is actually built around those lines. So I think those lines probably were put in after the structure was there when these 2 houses were done. In any event, we do feel that we cover the hardship pretty easily for shape and topography and soil type. The real challenge of this lot is, sorry, I'm gonna go back. When you look at this lot, really the only part of the lot that's buildable is this bottom kind of third portion where the house sits now. Once you get up to the left side of the lot or the rear of the lot, the ledge and the steepness of it just make it almost unbuildable. So that's why in 1730, they positioned the house where it is. So when my clients then worked with their architect and came up with their plan to build the house, so this on your left is the existing structure. On the right is the proposed structure with the 2-car garage. It is designed by Craig Bosworth from Bosworth Architects. It's a very nice design, well thought out plan. In addition to the design and the plan, Mr. Bosworth and the Doyles worked very hard to try to eliminate some of the hardship that's caused by, or it's not the hardship, it's a burden on both properties. So if you look here, you have the purple lines, that's our dwelling on 7 Bennett Street. And the orange line here is the current structure. There's really very little room between these properties as they sit right now. In fact, it's less than a foot right in here. So as they worked with their architect to come up with their plan and their design, they found it beneficial, and they believe it's beneficial for 7 Bennett as well as 9 Bennett, to take the property, if you will, they pushed it back and they spun it kind of clockwise to create a little bit of a different angle. So when they pushed the property back, it increased the front setback, so that's good. And it gave some much needed relief between 9 Bennett Street and 7 Bennett Street. So if you went there now, it's a very narrow pathway to walk between the houses. Now we're gonna have, 5 feet on that side of the lawn. So there's a little space there that's gonna be huge for the people on both sides. But in shifting the house clockwise and back, it expanded into the left side of the lot, which is where we need the relief from 11 Bennett. We're in those setbacks on that side. So it's kind of a trade-off of one hardship for what we believe is, or one burden, which we believe is a lesser burden on the 11 Bennett Street side. Worthy to know, in between 9 Bennett and 11 Bennett Street, there is a really steep ledge that's almost like a privacy wall that functions very nice and provides some ample protection for the neighbors. So as we come before you tonight, we are looking for relief in 3 areas. The proposed structure will increase non-conforming and will need a special permit or variance, as this board feels is necessary, for the left side setback. So currently, the left side setback is compliant. With the new proposed structure, we are going to be 13.7 feet from the lot line. So our left side is going to go 38 feet to 13 feet. We are also going to request, we're looking for relief from lot coverage. Our lot coverage is now 2.3% over, so we'll be looking for a little relief there. Lot coverage by structure and impervious surface is 2% over the allowable amount. We have discussed that. Currently, there's a paved driveway in the plans. We believe that if it made sense to the board, we would be happy to use an impervious surface for the driveway, and that would get us down below if that was a request from the board. We would like that paved for various reasons, but we understand that that's not going to happen. So when those are our 3 relief. If we look at it and we look at the dimensions, our lot size doesn't change. Gross floor area is going to change. We're going to go from 1247 to 2287. Lot width is actually an improvement because by pushing the property back, creating a little bit more front setback, and turning it clockwise, we've created a little bit more room at the lot width, which current existing is 87.8, and we're now going to be at 88.4. The frontage, we still have the same 88 feet of frontage that we had before. Our front setback is gonna be improved. We are going from 25.8 to a 22.4. Our side setback on the right side, which is where we think is the big relief for both these properties, presently is 0.9, and we are gonna have 5.6 to the setback there, so that's our big improvement. On the left side is our ask, and presently it's 38.2, and we're going to 13.7. The rear setback is still compliant. Presently it's 95.5, and it's gonna be 78. We don't need any relief there. Building height, we're gonna stay within the height requirements. And then I did mention the lot coverage for the structure, as well as the total structures and impervious surfaces we're requesting relief from. If we look at the next screen, it has the existing structures in orange. The proposed structure is in gray. Again, and in blue is the impervious surface areas. So on this plan, over here is where we're looking for the relief. And then over here is where I believe, and we believe strongly, that this is where the gain is. And that's a gain that's gonna help, again, we believe it's gonna help 7 Bennett as much as 9 Bennett. If we went around, and when we did walk around yesterday, there was a bit of discussion about the proposed porch in the back and the impact that it may have. Yesterday, there was some discussion that the proposed porch went right up to the fence. It does not go right up to the fence. It is going to be the 5 feet 6 inches off of the fence. There was questions about the impact of that porch on the neighbors' mature yew trees that are there, that are valued. In talking with my clients today and with our architect, we feel strongly that we can mitigate any risk to those yews by putting the back porch on piers rather than on the slab foundation as designed. So, as well as they've already had conversations with the neighbors, and they've agreed to work with their arborists to take protective measures during the construction of the property to protect those trees. They're valuable for both properties. If we run through your basic criteria in your special permits, I think that this is the kind of structure that's going to really help Manchester in general and the neighborhood in general. We do have an email that was sent to, I believe, Chairman Mellish from the police chief Fitzgerald in town, where he thinks that it's going to actually help the neighborhood with having the off-street parking and does not foresee any public safety issues. The new construction, so we have a 1730 home here. New construction is going to have all the benefits of new code, the HERS ratings, the energy efficiency, a lot of good things for the environment in the town. And pushing the property back. Adding to the front setbacks is gonna help everybody on both sides of the property and anybody driving down the street as far as visibility goes. It's not gonna crowd the street as much as the current structure. So I would like to then go back to my application just to make sure that we didn't miss anything. And again, I'll close with the request for the special permit as was read off by the chairman in our request. I'm happy to answer any questions. I also would be happy to run through the criteria that you have requested, but we detailed it out in our narrative. Don't know if you really want to use up the board's time reviewing something that we're presenting to you and writing in narrative.
Thank you. Members of the board, any questions, comments before I open it up to the
No,
public?
just, I am leaning very heavily towards the pervious driveway, where you're on the ledge as it is, you're on a hill. There'll be a lot of stormwater wash on that driveway. So anything we can do to capture some of that.
We don't disagree with you. So the initial plan to pave driveway, and we were well prepared to make sure to agree
That's the only thing.
to the pervious surface.
Yes, I also live on that street. I like the,
How many streets?
so, I like the fact that the proposed house is more set back than the existing conditions and that it's more centered off of, Donna and Kurt's property. So, And I agree with Brian on the driveway. I mean, when it rains, that street floods downhill. And then it becomes icy where the gas station is. And so for various, various directions, but, so I would agree with that comment. But I imagine that the neighbors have been talking about the design and all that, so those are my comments.
Okay, I will open this up for public comment now. As before, please state your name and address when you make a public comment. Please raise your hand and wait to be recognized, and please try not to repeat what someone else has said. Or if you do, just say like, I agree with what they said, and keep it brief. All right, yes, sir, in the blue.
Okay, Kurt Svetaka, 7 Bennett Street. I met you on as the sidewalk yesterday. John wasn't there, but I see you riding up the street all the time, so. Don and I have lived on Bennett Street for 30 years in this house. Not very good at this process. I'm not really good at this, so I'm using some notes here to make it a little more adaptable. We're generally in support, but we have concerns. Our concerns are privacy and screening. I know the design shows it pulling off the house, but the section of the house that is getting pulled off is actually not very much, hasn't been very much used over the last year, so it's actually gives us privacy. But so now that's going, which is fine. I appreciate that the house is moving back off the property line there. But when you move back where the screened-in porch is, it's 5.5 feet off the property line. And that is actually closer than what the existing house was at that location. So it's butting back in closer to us, further back. You saw our backyard, we love our backyard, we live in our backyard. Having a screened-in porch by a 3-season lived-in screened-in porch, 5.5 feet off our property line. We feel is going to potentially move into our privacy issues, even though there's notes about maybe building the porch on piers, 5.5 feet for views that are 35, 40 feet tall. I would think the roots of those views are going well out past there, and even just the construction of digging for the house, which is right butted up to them, or this porch is going to affect them. The trees don't just visually screen us either, they absorb sound. So we've learned in other scenarios where roots have been cut on our property and trees have died a couple years down the road. We can't afford to have that happen here because it really creates the whole atmosphere in our backyard. Our preference is to push the screen porch back off the property line a little bit, so it's not butted up against there. So the other piece of the pie is the whole back of our house is glass. So we're going to be sitting in our house, looking at a screened-in porch and hearing a screened-in porch. It'd be nice if it was around the corner a little bit, outside the 5.5 foot setback, but shown. I know it's supposed to be 20. I know there's non-conforming issues with where it is today and what it could be going forward, but it would seem like we have a large home going in here. That's a small change to push the porch off a little bit is not a big ask. And the other aspect of the screened-in porch, if it is a screened-in porch, we would appreciate having the side towards us be a solid wall, so that people aren't looking down at us, because it's going to be real close to us in that location. Even if it's around the corner a little bit, it's going to be close to us, and we're going to hear it when we're not back. So the concept of moving the house away too, we really appreciate moving the house away, but I think anybody that's gonna build a house is gonna build a house. I mean, that's,
So close.
it's for them, is as good for them as it is for us. I don't think it is done for us. And even in that little bump out place there, there's a bulkhead there, so it's not as though there's nothing there, there is something there still. But the big thing is our trees that we've had before, they're over to me. They're irreplaceable. You know. Just don't, I don't want to risk them for a screening.
Thank you. Sarah?
Sarah Mellish, 11 Bennett Street. Again, I'm speaking as a citizen. I'm not speaking on behalf of the board or directing my comments to the board member. The application requests 3 variances. Normally, I don't support variances. First, a variance to encroach into the west side setback, which abuts my property. The houses at 7 and 9 Bennett date back to the 1700s and are currently about 2 feet apart. It makes sense to give relief to number 7 by moving the house to the west towards number 11. My house. Since my property is 20 to 25 feet higher than 9 Bennett, I can accept the encroachment into the west side setback and support this variance. Second, a variance for coverage by structures. I find this more problematic, since this is necessary due to the size of the house, not anything to do with the topography of the lot. The house could be smaller. However, the south side of Bennett Street is in the general district, and the north side of the street is in District A. One could argue that due to the lot sizes of the first 3 properties on the north side of Bennett Street, they should have been included in the general district, which allows greater coverage. Nevertheless, they could make a couple of changes. First, I believe the existing shed is not even included in the coverage by structures, and that easily could be removed. Second, the basement is shown as a finished teen space. And there's access to that space from the garage and the mudroom off the garage through the house. They could eliminate the bulkhead, which is only a couple of feet from the neighbor. And I think the neighbors would not be happy if teens are congregating on the bulkhead, gain access to a party in the basement. Those 2 changes would decrease the coverage a little bit to 16.9%, where 15% is required. And I recommend a condition to limit the coverage by structures to 16.9%. Finally, the variance could almost entirely be eliminated if the depth of the garage is decreased to 24 feet and the depth of the proposed second floor bump out is extended by 1.5 feet, which would not impact the living space on the second floor. And if the screen porch is eliminated, then it would only exceed the coverage by structures requirement by 4 feet. The board may want to consider that. Third, total coverage by structures and impervious surfaces. I think that's been addressed. That they will switch out the driveway and other places to make them pervious. And I suggest that a condition be included to limit total coverage to the maximum allowed of 30%. Finally, with respect to the special permit to extend the encroachment further back into the east side setback, I think the screen porch could be moved further to the west to decrease the encroachment into the east setback and decrease the noise level for the neighbors. I ask the board to consider that. It won't make a difference to me because the screen porch is well below the first floor of my house, so the fact that it's closer to my side makes no difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Carolina Gibbs, School Street and to Desmond Avenue. This house is an old house. Is it something that the town does when they have old houses like this, that they tear them down instead of keeping the outside? There is usually a law that says keeping it outside is fine, but inside you can do anything you want. Is there something with that house?
This,
It's no demolition,
Well, it's not historic.
it's not part of, it's not designated as a historic building in
So
town.
nobody registered it, because that's one of the houses back in the 50s and early 60s. My mother-in-law saved from being torn down and made it a home.
It's
again
on,
by
yeah,
restoring it. That's all I want.
thank you. Is there anyone else in the room? Yes, sir?
Alfred Bennett, largely in support of everything. I think everybody's covered most everything that's come up. Just on the driveway issue, changing to stones. I live at the bottom of the street and I shovel all of the stones that come out of everybody's driveway and go into the gutter. I would much prefer that it would be, I think Kurt Donna also shovel a good amount of those stones. I'd actually prefer it to be asphalt so that it actually, those of you who drive down Bennett, it actually makes it really dangerous because all of the stones in the street kind of gather and make like a skid pad. Like my son loves to skid his bike on it. So I'd be pro granting a variance if that's just letting them pave their driveway for a couple of percentage versus
Yeah.
having this thing.
For the record, I was thinking of like dry laid brick. I wasn't thinking of crushed stone.
Yeah, like
There's-
pavers or.
Yeah,
Pavers.
It's pervious paper.
Yeah, I know, we've
Pervious
had
pavers.
a lot of people do the pervious switch to like the Lintech stuff that just ends up.
Yeah.
Down the street.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Josh Anderson, 4 Bennett, right across the street. I am a fan of no gravel. Please. And I'm generally in favor of the petition. I think the improvements mentioned, I will just ditto and there you go.
Anyone else in the room before I go to the Zoom meeting? No, is there anyone on Zoom? Their hand up. If you're on Zoom and you'd like to make a public comment, please raise your hand on Zoom so we can see you.
In the meantime, Ms. Melish, I'm not overly concerned about, as long as the police chief lives on Bennett Street, I'm not overly concerned about a lot of parties on that street.
Can I make one other comment?
Sure.
One thing I just picked up on in the discussion, stated for the proposal was the ledge on the left-hand side of the house created a natural privacy wall. And we have a natural privacy wall on our side that we're trying to maintain as well. So I just wanted to kind of note that it was an argument on one side. I wanted to make sure that we have that on our side as well.
Understood. Okay. I do have one letter to read into the record, so I will go ahead and do that.
Catherine, you have a raised hand too.
Oh, okay.
The architect, Mr.
Okay,
Bosworth.
I will go ahead, Mr. Bosworth, you can go ahead and speak before I read into the record.
Thank you. This is Craig Bosworth, the architect for the project. Could I have share screen for a moment, please?
Anyone know, John, do you know how to do that? Make the share screen.
I can barely drag a red 7 over a black 8.
Anybody in the audience want to do it?
Tech support?
Don't check your email while you're there.
I don't know what he's under.
Greg Bosworth.
Craig
Really,
Bosworth.
I know it's.
There.
We should have like a little lesson.
I learned during COVID.
I think you should be able to share your screen now, Mr. Bosworth.
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to address the porch issue if we could and answer any other questions that might come up. The intent of the floor plan layout I think Bill did a great job describing some of the hardship with the ledge, the site topography issues that we have. The right-hand side here, this is where the bulkhead is. This is the porch. The intent behind this porch is to be the extension of the living room spaces. The goal here, as you can see, it's a relatively small footprint. You do have the 2-car garage, which does bite quite a bit of the property here. A mudroom stair up because we're dealing with difficulty in topography. So we do have half a flight that leads up to the main floor. Main floor would be such that we have a living room, kitchen, small dining room in the front, more of the front entry with that covered porch. But this area back here provides my client the opportunity to have that seamless transition. The idea of having windows and a see-through fireplace, it's kind of a focal point and lends itself very well to how you would start to utilize patio spaces. It's somewhat ironic to me that we hear that this is going to be a loud space. In all honesty, I think of screen porches as being a privacy barrier. If we are grilling and if we are entertaining, the porch typically is just a sitting area, and this kind of structure does help to protect some of the acoustic sounds that would go. If this were all patio space, we'd be sitting out there and sitting around a fireplace without any kind of enclosure. The enclosure in its own right, with if it had glass panels on it and the like, would provide an acoustic separation. And not only that, but you think about light. If I don't have a screen porch here with downlights lighting the space, this would in its own right be a structure to start to absorb some of the light that we're going to have out here on the patio. I'd have a couple of downlights in the screen porch and it's relatively clean. If I have to light up this area for outdoor sitting, then we're dealing with bigger lights, and I don't even want to use the word spotlight, but you're going to have some fairly bright lights trying to light up this area of the patio space that we would have. So I do see this ironically as more of a barrier to provide some privacy. I think both owners want to have privacy. They're obviously very close to one another in this location, but I wanted to address that. Also, just while I have the attention, I know that there are some trees that are in question. It's very simple for us to really get 1, 2, 3 isolated pier points that we could support this screen porch. It's only a 1-story porch, relatively simple structure. We don't not need to have a slab on grade. There'd be some grade beams. This is going to be like a deck-like material, maybe some crushed stone underneath that. It's really not meant to be such that we're digging and creating 4-foot frost walls or anything underneath the screen porch. So hopefully that, with the help of an arborist, will certainly help the survival of those trees. I think the other questions are in regard to square foot areas and the like. So we would have to address that at a different time. I do appreciate the comments, but I wanted to address at least the porch here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to make a public comment? Yes, sir.
Jim Gates, 2 Desmond Avenue. I know in our neighborhood, the Concom gave permission to a person rehabbing an existing dwelling to lay down some kind of permeable blocks. And that eliminated a gravel problem. Where these folks seem to have concern. And we're just finding out a possible way of resolving that problem.
Thank you. Okay, there's no further comments. I'm going to read the one letter I have into the record here. This letter is dated May 9th, 2024. It says, Manchester ZBA. Donna Dowell and I have lived at 7 Bennett Street, directly abutting this property for close to 30 years, and would like to offer our input on the application submitted by Jill and Tim Doyle, the owners of 9 Bennett Street. Our home was built in 1776 and therefore is unique by today's standards. We are generally in support of the project and appreciate the proposed location that maintains the present front setback. That said, we do have a few areas of concern of which we would like to make you aware. We have previously advised the Doyles of these concerns as well. Our main concern is maintaining our privacy and screening. Presently, there are 3 large old growth yews and a large arborvitae that are close to the borders of the 2 properties. Ensuring the health and vitality of these irreplaceable trees is very important to maintain this privacy. We have been carefully maintaining these trees for many years with the help of our arborist. The part of the plan that has the largest impact on the trees is the 3-season screened-in porch that is shown 5 feet 6 inches from the property lines. The U's are adjacent to the fence between the two properties, and having a new structure so close to the property line will cause them much stress. The roots of these 30-foot tall yews no doubt extend into the area where the proposed structure is to be constructed, and many major branches will need to be removed to accommodate the porch. The long-term health of the trees due to this construction would not be known for many years, and we are fearful of the impact. If the porch is approved at this location, at the very minimum, we would like to request that it be built on piers without a foundation or slab to ensure minimal effect to the root systems of the yews. In order to maintain the privacy of our backyard, where we spend a lot of time, we also request that one wall of the porch facing 7 Bennett Street be solid and closed and not a screen. In addition, there is a large arborvitae adjacent to our patio that is currently under stress as it lost a large limb in a storm this winter. Similarly, protection of the root system for this tree during excavation and construction is very important. It appears that the proposed bulkhead is directly adjacent to this. We have lived in close proximity to neighbors at 9 Bennett Street for many years. It may seem counterintuitive, but there are aspects of the present closeness of the structure that give us privacy. The part of the house that is closest to us is mostly a stairwell and blocks views into our yard from the 9 Bennett backyard and the street. This does not mean to imply that we do not appreciate the main parts of the house being moved off the property line, but just gives another perspective for your review. The new house location will open things up and make existing screening all that more important. We can be available during your site visit if there are questions. Donna and I also plan on attending the meeting. Thank you, Donna Dewal and Kurt Savetka. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced your names. 7 Bennett Street. All right, I think that's all the public comment. So if there's no more public comment, I'm going to close the public comment portion of the meeting for board debate. All right, closing public comment. Let's go to board comments. Rob?
I like Sarah's suggestion of moving the house over slightly closer to her property line. Is that something that's possible in the design? Do we know?
I think that's what's proposed.
No, I mean, more so than what's proposed.
Oh,
The porch, not the, not the house.
the
Yeah, no.
porch?
No, the whole.
She never suggested.
I don't think that was,
I thought it was.
Porch.
I don't believe that
No,
was suggested.
Wasn't the whole foundation?
No, just the porch.
Never mind.
I think that was my understanding.
Unless I interpreted that wrong. Then other than that, then I have nothing else to say.
John?
I mean, the way I see it, like. The porch. Offers more. Privacy than something like a deck or a 2nd-story deck off that 2nd floor office, which could be. Proposed, but it's not, and it sounds like some of these suggestions were. Taken into account with the architect tonight. I would suggest that maybe an arborist is involved during construction. You know, to make sure that the neighbors are happy and that. You know, in case something does happen with some of these mature trees, maybe in good faith, they can come to an agreement that they put together, you know. Work to rectify that. Let's say if a few trees die during construction, that they could put together a proper screening plan. To keep the neighbors happy. And that would just be a good faith thing between neighbors. Otherwise, I don't really have any other concerns. About the project. And I guess I would just add that I do like the idea of that. Of the wall on the neighbor side, instead of having it glass, I'm talking about the porch, if you could just consider that.
I see both arguments on the porch. Okay. Creates a nice flow, living space. Okay, but I don't think that that should be a make or break deal. Just by shifting it 5 feet to the left, shortens up the porch. I don't know if you have to change. I don't, is that a door or is that a window that goes out onto the, oh, it's a window, so I don't know, I think that we have to be sensitive to the neighbors' needs and requests. And I just don't see where shortening up or making the screened-in porch a little smaller should be a stumbling block.
So, we have a couple different things that we're considering here, right? 3 variances and a special permit. And like we talked about on the other application for these variances, we need to show hardship, right? So, from my perspective, I understand the repositioning of the house and the encroachment into the setback, moving it closer to 11 Bennett. But a hardship with respect to coverage or impervious surfaces, I'm not sure there's a hardship that I've heard a hardship on lot coverage or impervious surfaces. So I think you could make some compromises to get that down under to the requirements. And I'm happy to listen if other people on the board, feel differently about that, but I'm not sure that I heard a hardship for those 2 variances. And I do see both sides of the porch issue, and I think that is something to consider, especially with the proximity. I mean, it sounds like some compromises have been made with respect to the trees already and whatnot, so it sounds like people are working together. Maybe a little bit more cooperation, we could get this to a place where most people are happy. I don't know, what do you guys think about the hardship on the variances with lot coverage?
Yeah, I think you could bring that down to where it needs to be. The bulkhead was suggested, you
Right.
could make that porch smaller. You
Right.
could,
Easily, yeah.
Pretty easily
yeah,
bring it
get
into
creative and just trim it down.
So the reality here is how much of a hardship is going from the 2,200, was it the 2,287? Build a house that big, there's not a hardship anyway. So I think that get rid of the bulkhead, shorten up the porch helps mitigate a lot of those issues there.
It would remove the need for 2 of the 3 variances if you brought it into compliance on the lot coverage and impervious surfaces. You'd only have the variance with the 1 encroachment, which I think, due to the lot topography and whatnot, makes sense. And then we'd be voting on 1 variance and 1 special permit, but
I mean, I get the whole thing about the bulkhead, but the bulkhead's there for a reason. Because you need it for equipment, especially if they're putting their equipment in the basement. So you have to have a way to get the equipment in and out. You can't go through a doorway, so they have to have a bulkhead somewhere. Looking at this plan, that is pretty much the only place to put it. So I don't think there's really much. You can do with that.
They're gonna need a way in and out of that basement.
That's what
From the
I'm-
outside of the house, a bulkhead or
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying I know,
They could
I'm not an
reduce it,
architect.
yeah.
I'm not gonna
So I
dictate the
meant by get
solution here.
creative,
But
You
they
know,
could
pick
definitely
a different,
reduce
you could decrease the size of the garage. I mean, there's lots of different ways you could
Sure.
bring this into compliance on
absolutely, yeah.
lot coverage and impervious.
Well, like they said, I mean, the topography of the site is a lot of the issue too. The way
Yeah.
they're trying to do that stuff.
That makes sense with respect to the lot lines. And the encroachment into setbacks, I think.
I'm going on to the porch there.
Yeah.
On the site visit yesterday, I was trying to remember how far back that fence went. As I recall, it was along those trees that we're talking about. So that was well within, you've already got a fence now blocking off that side of where they're talking about their porch.
That's true.
So I wouldn't understand the point of two walls to block when you've already got something there.
The other issue there is that because the house was abandoned, my understanding is that whole corner has been pretty much abandoned.
Right.
There's no expectation it's always gonna be abandoned. Okay, so you enjoyed your privacy for a while. Okay, But so, that's the only other, that's the thing that comes to mind with me is that the original, you can't have an expectation that that's gonna be. The way it is.
That's true, that's true, but at the same time, you know, they don't necessarily have the right to rebuild within the setbacks.
Just throwing that out.
Yeah, totally.
But I question. Hardships.
Right, the hardships. Me too. So. Mr. Amy, do you have any questions or comments for the board at this time?
I'm actually gonna check with my clients, because there's been a few suggestions that I can't necessarily
course.
agree to. Thank you very much for your comments on the porch, and I will tell you that the Doyles are new respectful neighbors, and they value the privacy as much as anybody. So everybody's on the same page there, they want the same thing, but I think you're gonna get there. On the driveway, I think there's many different ways that we can get the pervious surface and not have the pebbles running down. Just did a subdivision of the Newberry, and they had to put a block apron at the end of the driveway. They had cobblestone, pea stone, but then they had like some cobblestones at the end when you went in, so I kept all the pea stones in the driveway and not running out in the streets. So there's a lot of ways that the Doyles and architect are gonna be able to work around some of that stuff. Some of the questions I can't answer without checking with my clients is the bulkhead, which I don't think the bulkhead is really an option, to your point. I think that that's needed for the mechanics and everything else. The size of it, I have to check with my clients. I'm not sure if Greg is still on. If Greg has any comments, maybe just give me 1 second, I'll check with my clients. See what they think of the size.
Sure.
I'm not sure that not having an enclosed porch is like a hardship,
Right. Right.
especially when you could put an enclosed porch within a setback. You've got plenty of space to do.
Mhm. The point would be, we can only ask for pervious material, we can't, can we dictate as to what kind of pervious material it's gonna be?
I
wasn't asking you to dictate what the.
No, I'm just saying,
Sorry.
I'm just saying is that, I think that,
I don't think we can dictate the material.
pardon?
We can't dictate. the material.
No, but I think that there's enough, options out there with, those either pavers or whatever. Directed to the chair.
No, we've closed public comment.
So
Go ahead.
we hear you, and I think we can go back to the architect, and we can work a little bit on the sizing to get it down, so that we are just looking for the variance on the left side setback. How long is that?
The one variance.
We can continue to come back to that minor issue. We just can't commit to it tonight without
Yeah,
having.
of course.
There's a lot, so every time we shift this and move it away from 7, we end up costing more money because we're getting into more site and everything else, so we just need to take, somebody smarter than me needs to take a look at it.
A continuance
Yes.
Just so happens.
just so happens. Okay, so, do you agree to continue the hearing from May 15th, 2024 to June 26th, 2024?
Yes.
And, agree that the board's deadline for filing the decision be extended to September 17th, 2024?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna do a vote here. I move to continue the application of Jill Rankowski Doyle and Timothy P. Doyle at 9 Bennett Street for a special permit and variance. To continue the application from May 15th, 2024 to June 26th, 2024, and agree that the board's deadline for filing its decision be extended to September 17th, 2024. Rob?
Yes.
Sure. Yes.
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 And Catherine is yes. So.
Thank you for your time.
Catherine, you need a second on that motion.
Oh, yep, sorry.
Second.
Okay. Second, and now it's approved. Thank you.
Thanks, Gail.
We just wanted to say thank you from the Doyles for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks.
I was really impressed.
Looks like Sarah wasn't here.
I tried.
I tried. I couldn't look at you, Sarah, but just start laughing. No, I know, I know, I was like, if I look at Sarah.
I wasn't gonna say you need a second.
I was thinking about it, and I forgot, and I got carried away.
Excuse me, we still got a meeting going on, guys.
Can you take that off, please?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Put it on your wall. No problem.
I will now resume as chair for the application.
Yes, yeah, the engineers are smart.
For the application of 90 School Street. I will open the public hearing for the application of Seaside Legal Solutions PC on behalf of Deegan Partners LLC for a special permit under section 4.2, 5.4. Yes, your Gates, would you please? I wasn't. Oh, okay. For a special permit under sections 4.2, 5.4, and 12.5 of the zoning bylaw, and other relief as may be necessary to build an addition and convert an existing non-conforming single-family residence into a two-family residence, and a variance under sections 5.4 and 12.3.3 of the zoning bylaw, and other relief as may be necessary for an encroachment into the front setback by 1.9 feet of an existing porch at 90 School Street, Assessor's Map number 41, lot number 87 in District D2, filed with the town clerk on April 18, 2024. Somebody here to present the application.
Madam Chair, I'm going to since you need screen share
Wait a
online.
minute.
For the record, I'll do this. My name is Joel Pavazza. I'm an attorney at Seaside Legal Solutions for matters of 123 Main Street, in Gloucester. We are known here on behalf of Deegan Partners LLC, the record owners of the property.
You should be all set.
Here we go. Okay. So as the chair announced, we're looking to convert an existing single-family home to a two-family home. It'll be a 2.5-story rear addition constructed to the existing structure via a 1-story connector corridor. As you can see on the site plan, the existing house area is in the lighter gray lines towards School Street, and the bolder lines show the 1-story connector and the 2.5-story addition to the rear. So the proposed addition is designed to match the architectural design of the existing structure. We are primarily located in the RD2 district, or D2 district. The rear portion of the lot, you can see the lot's highlighted in yellow, a little bit of green shading, that would be single residence district B. Over the entirety of the existing and the entirety of the proposed structure are within the D2 district. There'll be no structure located within the single residence district B. So we need, depending on how the board would like to go about this, between 2 and 3 pieces of relief. One is a change of use special permit. As you know, in this district, 2-family conversions from the existing single families are allowed by special permit. We also need a variance, and that has nothing to do with the proposed addition or connector. What it has to do with is when you change from the existing use to a new use, any pre-existing non-conforming protection you had for dimensional variances can be considered lost. And so we have a front porch in the existing house that is 1.9 feet into this front yard setback. So it's 8.1 feet from the street, it should be 10. And because we're converting the use, the grandfather protection, for lack of a better word, can get wiped out. It's going to be a variance to reallow the existing porch to remain exactly as it is. And then the last one, we had it in our application as belt and suspenders. Would be a special permit to alter and expand. I don't think it's actually needed, and we'll go through that in a moment because we do the test. The existing nonconformity is only that front yard violation of the setback, And nothing we're doing is going to increase that nonconformity. And so when you do not increase the existing nonconformities on a singular two-family, there's no need to expand. And secondarily, because we have to request that variance, to the degree that it was a pre-existing nonconformity, it's actually now becoming an allowed nonconformity via the variance relief. That being said, if the board wishes to give a special permit to alter and expand, we will take it. I don't actually think it's necessary, however. So brief background, some of you may remember this was brought before you back in 2022. We got as far as a site visit, and some concerns were brought up from neighbors and some board members regarding the proposed layout of the parking area. And so we went in July of 2023 and actually got approval by the DPW to move the entrance to the driveway to the further rear of the lot to make for better access in and out of the parking area, and make sure they can reconfigure the parking, which, you know, address the concerns that were raised back then. Per usual, I have all the plans loaded in. I'm happy to go through them or report back with any questions. If there's the floor plans for the building itself. And the elevation drawings. And again, we can go back and look at those. Here's the street view. Here's the GIS from the town. There's the GIS with satellite from the town. And so we'll get rid of the standards we have to hit, right? So to get a special permit to convert from the single to a two family, basically you have to make a determination that the benefits are not gonna outweigh, not gonna be outweighed by potential negative impacts. And you have 9 factors to consider. We'll go through as brief as I can, but I wanna make sure we're on record hitting all of them. So you have section 3.3 standards. Again, we're not worried about lighting, noise, et cetera. This is a second dwelling unit on a residential property. Again, it'll match aesthetics of the existing structure, and there's a bonus in that. It's going to obviously increase the value of the lot for the property owner. But this is also new growth tax revenue, which for those of you paying attention in budget season for municipalities, is one of the few ways you can get a little additional money into your levy without violating Prop 2.5. Other conditions, social, economic, community needs. Again, as anyone paying attention to both the town of Manchester specifically or the greater Commonwealth of Massachusetts in general, we are in dire need of additional housing units. And this will provide a safe, new, modern building code compliant housing unit that would be appropriate for a family to live in. Traffic flow and safety, there's gonna be minimal impact on traffic flow and safety. This lot fronts on School Street and Lincoln Avenue. Lincoln Avenue as the way you'll use to get into the driveway. The bylaw only requires 3 spots. We've shown 3 oversized spots. And as I'll mention in a moment, it could also be 4 conforming spots. We want to make sure that all the churning work and that last spot gets a little tight for the backing in. So this area in blue shows the 3 oversized spaces. They are 12 by 18, where only 9 by 18 is required. So if you actually add that up, that's 36 feet in width, and you could actually make 4 9-foot wide parking spaces in that same area. Again, the issue, we want to make sure that last car can back out in one fell swoop for the purposes of permitting. But if this board was more concerned about striping an additional space, even though it'd be, you know, at the minimum size for narrowness, we could do that also. It wouldn't change that blue rectangle. It'd all still be located basically inside that area. And then the funny thing is that when you have larger projects, you have these other standards, and just coincidentally, trying a little bit of overkill here, this actually meets the standards you apply to larger projects that are not applicable here as far as making sure there's turnaround space and making sure there's perimeter plantings. As you can see, the area has already been constructed as a show of good faith to show that it doesn't just work on paper, it works on the ground. This shows the 2 cars to the existing tenants of the existing single family house. The garage you see to the right of those 2 parked cars and coming down. And the 3rd spot would be partially inside the footprint of that. And again, as you can see by how tightly these 2 tenants have parked their cars, you can in your head see the 2 more cars to park to the right. But again, the thing of permitting, we had to show 3, so we showed 3 real big ones. But from a pragmatic standpoint, you know, there's a snow emergency, you gotta get all the cars off the street. There's a lot of room back here, especially when you take into account the turnaround area as well. Just by way of example, funny enough, right outside this building is 3 9x18 spaces. And so we're actually, you know, exceeding what the town installs for itself on its public property. And so again, here's a better shot of the turnaround area. Again, you'll notice that it's fenced off. There are plantings in place. And there's also new plantings and landscaping that were put along Lincoln. And again, they're small shrubs now, but those will grow up to, a lot of them will exceed the height of your average car. So to the degree that say concerned about having to, look at a quote unquote parking lot with 3 or 4 cars in it, the screening will come up to help. And then again, there's a new fence on the rear side of the property, which also helps shield any view of this parking area from abutting properties. And so going back into the 9 standards, adequacy of utilities, no issue here. Neighborhood character and social structure. Again, we are in the D2 district. 2 families are allowed by special permit when you're expanding. They're also allowed by right if you're just reconfiguring internally. And preservation of scenic views for enjoyment of the public. There are no view sheds enjoyed by the public across this property that are being impacted. The last 3 factors, impacts from environment. The locus is already developed. There's no significant impact. We admit there's a little bit of loss of green space for the parking that's already been created. But that was, again, something they were allowed to do as a matter of right to create the parking. Climate resiliency, again, this is going to have to meet modern stretch codes, and the HERS rating went down again last year, it's going down again this year, so we'll be meeting all of those standards. As I mentioned a moment ago, potential fiscal impact, again, it's good for the property owner, it allows them additional rental income to keep up with the cost of maintaining, and it allows the town of Manchester to slap a whole new assessment on a second unit that doesn't exist currently. The other, again, bit of overkill I want to go through is, even if this was the by right conversion inside a structure, it also meets those tests. It's connected to town sewer, the addition complies with setbacks, sufficient parking provided, et cetera. So again, even though footnote 3 doesn't apply to the degree anyone was concerned about those factors, it actually gives all of those also. So again, I would submit that the beneficial impact of this far outweighs any detrimental impact, if you can find detrimental impact from the creation of this unit. The front yard variance, again, we have to find that a literal enforcement of the bylaw is going to cause substantial hardship, but basically require them to tear off the deck or rebuild the deck. And the deck itself is roofed and structurally tied into the property, so there will be a hardship there. As far as the harm to public good or nullifying the intent of the bylaw, it allows the house to remain as is, where it is, and how it is for a number of years. So anyone driving down School Street looking at the house today or looking at the house after this addition is built won't really notice the difference as appears in School Street, because the porch is just going to stay the porch. So to say that as far as the variance standards, again, it's just to allow the thing to exist that's always existed. And then again, for that alter expansion test, because section 7.2 says a requirement for special permit does not apply to an extension, alteration, reconstruction, or structural change to a single family or 2 family that does not increase the non-conforming nature of the structure. The only non-conformity, again, is that front yard violation. Nothing we're doing is non-compliant. Everything we're doing meets every dimensional requirement, lot coverage requirement, impervious surface requirement, parking requirement, et cetera. So I don't think this permit is necessary, but if the board would like to give one, just in case, we'll certainly take it. And then, of course, we require you to make a finding that whatever degree of increase you find to the existing nonconformity, it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than what presently exists. And again, that only nonconformity is 1.9 penetration into a front yard setback. So that was kind of quick, but hopefully we can all go home at some point tonight. So I'm looking for a change of use special permit 423, convert from a single to a 2. I'm hoping for a variance from the front yard to allow that porch to stay as it is. And we'll either a determination that there's no increase to existing nonconformities, or if we find there is an increase, a special permit to alter and expand. Thank you very much. I'll take down my screen share and share over to you guys.
Questions from the board?
So the property now is the current investment property?
Yeah, it's rented out to tenants currently.
This have to go to the planning board as well for the curb cut? Like, how did that end up?
DPW took care of it in July 23rd.
It's still under
I think I moved
Oh,
from
there was-
planning into
there was-
DPW jurisdiction.
There was an appeal of the driveway curb cut, the decision was written and the decision was not appealed. So that's closed.
That parking area in the back, is that being used to park in the adjacent house?
Yeah, so there's, you're standing on School Street, the house one to the left, so it's a narrow yellow house. That has additional accessory parking behind it, which you cross through the parking area that we showed, but none of the parking spaces shown interfere with the ability for people to continue past these three spaces down into the parking area. I'll put the site plan back up at the house. One moment, please.
So am I correct that there's 5 parking spaces currently for number 84 and 86?
Yeah, 8486 again, which would be like the tall, narrow yellow house, one to the left, and the shorter, more square yellow house, two to the left. They have a total of 3 units, so you need 5 spaces, and they have that between the spaces located out front on School Street, and then again, cars do come in this way and then head down into a parking area over here. But again, none of the blue parking spaces is going to interfere with the ability for those people to get in and out. No one will be parking in such a way that you can't get to the back lot or the neighboring properties.
So even with the proposal, the neighbor is still gonna be using that as like an access easement.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, yeah, as far as and it's what they do now, right? That's how they do it exactly now. And then the parking area has been built. For those of you who had a chance to go to the site visit or visit it on your own, what you see is what will be there. The only thing that's missing is actually the addition to the existing house. The parking area is totally built out already.
And couldn't that cause problems in the future? These properties sell?
Well, so that the parking space, my understanding is that 5th parking space for 84 and 86, so the third one for number 86 is physically behind number 86, is that correct?
Yeah, so if you
It's
look.
on that property.
Yeah, so there's a parking lot with 4 spaces on School that you can be using at 84 and 86 to serve. The single family requires 2, the 2-family requires 3. And so 2 of the 3 required are served by School Street, and 1 of the 3 required is served by the rear. And honestly, if you're back there, again, in terms of snow emergency, stuff like that, that house can actually park 2 or 3 cars fully back there without impacting the parking on the property that's before you.
And what property is that other parking on?
It is on 84, the 84 comes around
Okay.
no, sorry, 86, it's a straight line back, I'm sorry, I have the lot line. Let me take my annotation off. I can get.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah, so there's 4 spaces here.
Yeah.
But then there's one in the back, and I'm just
On this
asking, is
building.
the one in the back physically on the property for 86?
Yeah, so here, this is a much better map to look at. So the parking spaces behind 86 are on 86.
Okay,
But access is.
But I
through-
think, yeah.
This is over the subject properties.
So I have to drive through somebody else's property to park in this property.
In the event of a bifurcated okay, so there's gonna be a right of way.
Yeah.
So again, that would be an issue for 86, right? So if there was, something were to happen, 86 would all of a sudden become in violation, but wouldn't impact, only before you is 90.
yeah, but we're not gonna approve something for 90 if the properties at 84 and 86 could go into non-compliance when they're all controlled by the same owner.
What I'm saying is that that's how it is right now. If I wasn't before you today, right now, 86 complies by having
Right.
2 in the front and 1 in the rear.
But you are before us now.
No, sure. What I'm saying is that nothing has changed for 86. Currently, 86 access is over 90. They did it yesterday, did it today, and if we get these permits, they'll do it tomorrow. And this risk that, that there could be a bifurcation of the properties exists regardless of what we're talking about tonight. Nothing you're doing tonight exacerbates it. Nothing you're doing tonight changes it, right? But this is solely about, do we have enough parking spaces for 90? 86 isn't before you. And again, to the degree that 86, has this concern, it would be any relief 86 would need, you'd be able to condition that, right? But to say that, hey, your parking requirement is 3 spaces, you've shown 3 spaces, but we're concerned about an entirely separate lot that's not before the board. I think you're getting into kind of murky territory as far as your jurisdiction of this application.
Is there an access easement over the property at 90 school for parking at 86 school? Because that is before us.
So you cannot have an easement against yourself. So as long as properties are held in common ownership, you can't put an easement on the property that you own against another property. Again, here's what we could do. You could put a condition on the relief for 90 that should 90 fall out of common ownership or be conveyed out of common ownership with 86, that an easement must be granted to 86. Again, it doesn't impact the parking on 90 because 90 doesn't, this access easement for 86 doesn't impact where these 3 cars go. It's just it's a shared, pathway, right? So if you want to put some sort of condition that says, hey, 86 isn't before us right now, but the way we're going to try and make things better for, avoid a future problem is that, okay, well, 90, you are before us. So 90, you have to agree that if we agree to this parking configuration you've shown us, we'll condition that parking configuration on the idea that if you ever separate ownership, you will in perpetuity allow, that space behind 86 to continue to be accessed so long as they need it, right? I imagine you could also solve the problem with enhancing parking in front of 84. There are other solutions, but I'm happy to take the condition that as long as 86 needs that space back there, that 90 breaks off separately, it must provide that access. That's okay. I just want to I don't want to start hitting on 86 when 86 isn't filed and 86 isn't here.
So to be clear, 90, 86, and 84 are owned by the same.
Yes.
So then, aren't they merged? Like, aren't they all before us? It's common ownership of adjacent lots. Like, I think that they would merge by operation of law, which brings the whole thing before us.
So they don't merge by operation of law. The only time the merger doctrine kicks in is if you own adjacent properties and one of them is vacant. So because these are all built upon, they're called the merger doctrine. And it's if you own adjacent properties. So for example, I own a 5,000 square foot lot in a 6,000 square foot district, but I also own a blank lot next to it. Well, those are going to merge to cure my nonconformity. But if I own a 5,000 square foot lot with a house on it, and a 3,000 square foot lot next to it with a house on it, they don't merge because they're both undersized, but they're both improved upon with residences on them. It's only when one of the adjacent lots is vacant that the merger doctrine kicks in to cure. It only kicks in to the degree that you need to cure nonconformities. And again, we don't have any nonconformities relative to lot area, lot coverage, dimensional setbacks, et cetera. So there'll be no defect to cure here for
So is
90.
each lot conforming?
I don't think that the structures on
No,
86.
the lot sizes.
I don't think any of them are conforming, just looking at the pictures that.
Well, the one before you is conforming. And then you get the,
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the other two.
Sure, we get the chart up. Yeah, so we are at about 8568 per square feet and 6,000. We have more than necessary requisite frontage, more than requisite lot width. So this lot before you is conforming. And again, to the degree that any adjacent non-conforming lot would need assistance, it wouldn't come from this one because it is improved upon.
What about like a parking plan? So let's say if this is under construction, like where are people gonna park if, because you're gonna have existing tenants living at 90. You need the other tenants spinning around and then you have contractors coming in all day. So like, have you thought about that?
Yeah, and so again, there is, when you talk about parking spaces, we always talk about at least the 9x18 with, not tandem, not blocking you in. If you look at, let's get a better aerial shot of this. If you look at the area beyond the existing garage over in this area, there's a lot of room for a lot of cars. So for example, if the two cars, the current tenants own, if, let's say one day is a big delivery, you know, building center shows up or, you know, with a big, you know, pallet truck to drop off stuff, you know, and they're in this area, there's room back here to get, you know, plenty of cars, right? There's also on-street parking, and this is all temporary, right? This is only for as long as the addition's under construction. But again, when we say we've got 3 spaces, look at this space, right? You could fit a ton of vehicles back here. Or again, you know, if you have during construction, a lot of pickup trucks, right? They can all pull onto site, right? This is, you know, gonna be a temporary situation. And then again, the standard before you is about the final product and making sure that when construction is completed, that you have adequate parking. And as I've kind of gone through, there's more than adequate parking for the bylaw, and I would say more than adequate parking for a pragmatic use of a 2-family home.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Not this time.
I do have a letter that I would like to read into the record. Dated May 9th, 2024. Carolyn Goodall and John F. Burke, trustees of 85 School Street, Manchester, being directly across the street from the applicant at 90 School Street, wish to go on record opposed to this application. Our grounds are that the applicant is a non-resident absentee investor with no apparent hardship. That building and their adjacent house are primarily used for short-term rentals to date, along with many weeks in their Airbnb program. To date, they have not been used for long-term, much-needed housing in Manchester. In addition, the expansion will most likely make it more non-conforming in regard to lot coverage and possibly other zoning requirements. The building, like the one we own at 85 School Street, is easily large enough to convert to a 2-family in its current structure, and we would not object to a conversion per se in the same footprint without the addition. The owners have a contentious history with some of the neighbors in Town Hall, having previously made threats to convert both properties to a 40B. While that is their right, using a threat like that to get something approved should be ignored. And actually, a 40B that adds several affordable units to town would be better than the way they intend to manage this property. Other history is the planning board rejected access to 86 School Street from the Lincoln Avenue entrance to 90 School for parking behind their adjacent property, but it looks like they went ahead with that anyway. The town's Airbnb regulations, I believe, require that the building must be owner occupied in order to rent out a portion for short-term rentals. I don't believe the owners of record with a financial interest have ever lived there. They in the past have tried to say a family member lived there, but we've seen no evidence of that. If so, they may be in violation every time they rent out on a short-term basis under the Airbnb regulations. They historically try for loopholes in order to achieve their objectives. Basically do something and then ask forgiveness, not proper. In summary, we don't believe a special permit or variance is warranted in this situation. Sincerely, Jack Burke and Carolyn Goodall, 16 Ocean Street, trustees of 85 School Street. I think this letter does raise the concern about short-term rentals. And I think that.
Is that your response to it?
What?
Is that your response to it, or are they gonna wait?
Yeah, I just want to add on to this, okay?
Right.
I think that the purpose of this section of the bylaw is to provide additional reasonably priced housing on a long-term basis. And I think I would have a question of whether you would consider a condition that no short-term rentals are allowed in either of the 2 units at 90 School Street pursuant to both the town and the state definitions, to squash that concern.
No, I'm not gonna agree to that condition on behalf of my client. One, we haven't discussed it, and 2, again, not trying to be combative, it's nowhere in the standards before you for a special permit or the variance. Again, we will absolutely commit to complying with whatever regulations there are in the town of Manchester. What I can say is to that letter, the tenants that are currently in the building out front are not short-term tenants, they're long-term tenants. And I can represent to you that in all the conversations I've had with my clients, there's been no discussion about short-term renting out the rear portion either. The idea is, again, to create another long-term rental situation. I think there's a big, short-term rental sounds like this nice, like shiny thing you can make a lot of money doing, but it's also a hassle. I mean, you get good tenants who live year-round, pay their rent, take care of the place for you. Sometimes that's worth more than maybe the little bit extra you can get during the summer, that sort of thing. So I can represent you, there's been no intention in anything but rent this out, but I would not think it appropriate for this board to require a condition or a restriction as to use that is not part of the standards that are being required by the bylaw. A lot of talk's been had tonight about what the bylaw requires and what the bylaw doesn't require, and the bylaw does not require any such restriction to convert to a two-family. If the citizens of Manchester, to paraphrase the chair, want that, they would need to go to town meeting and get that approved. But as for now, it's not for the ZBA to, impose additional conditions that aren't part of the bylaw.
I think it may go to the fact that converted two-unit structure may not be substantially different in character from the existing building, that if it's going to be used as short-term rentals, then it's different character.
I believe that is speaking to the aesthetic design of the building, not as to the use. So making sure that you're not adding, a hyper modern addition onto a colonial, that sort of thing.
Any more questions from the board, or should I move to public comment? Okay. Is there anybody in the room who would like to speak on this application? Please. Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
James Brady, 10 Lincoln Avenue, former member of the ZBA, 2003 to 2006, so I'm familiar with the situation, being a neighbor and having had to deal with this applicant in the past. I can't remember the exact year, maybe it was 16, 17, they applied for a curb cut through the ZBA. It was fully denied with prejudice. And somehow they got through a loophole because the DPW was then allowed somewhere down the line to change the rules and laws. The town allowed DPW to grant curb cuts, and that's how they got this curb cut through. What you'd like to see, if you can put the plan up again.
Which one would you like?
Your site plan, yeah.
Sure thing.
One thing to say, they also put a fence up so that it's not in keeping with the neighborhood, 1. 2, safety concerns, why they were not granted the curb cut originally, because there's a lot of traffic that's created. They put a fence up here that anyone that comes out of Lincoln Ave barely can see to the right. You almost hit pedestrians because you have to pull out almost onto the street to see right. So that fence should come down as a condition of anything you've ever granted, 1. 2, if you put your parking plan up, he's showing that there's plenty of parking, that's without this structure built. They've tried to go for this before. 1, I have a question. They're in zoning D. We're a single family zoning B. So how are you allowed to utilize zone B to conform to something in zone D? The parking shouldn't be allowed to be helping out a structure that you're trying to build in zone D. Also, if you have a car, you're parked in the middle spot, any engineer can see that. I don't even see if you can even turn to get into the spot. The way it's built right now. I would have the town ZBA have an engineer look at that. But I do not think you can even actually get into these 3 parking spaces if you were to build this structure as it's put on this plan today. So, those are just a couple of reasons right there that I think that this should not be passed. It's not in keeping with our neighborhood. That's number 1 on the zoning book. Why you're sitting here as a board. Is it in keeping in kind with the neighborhood? Is it detrimental? I feel it's detrimental to the neighborhood. I think a lot of the other neighbors would say the same thing, and I'll let some of them speak as well.
Thank you. How much space is there between the rear of the parking spots and the edge of the parking area?
22 feet. The spaces are 18 feet deep, there's 40 feet from the, and again, that's more space than the town hall uses for its 3 parking spaces, and I see cars pulling in and out. Trouble-free, those who came to the site yesterday saw the tenants' cars parked there. Again, there was more than enough space, and to the degree that someone's concerned about engineering, we have, you know, shown the more difficult auto turn, what that last photo, that last plan had, more difficult spot, showing the car backing up and getting back out nose first. So again, this more than exceeds the requirements for parking space size, access size, et cetera. So from a legal perspective, we hit the criteria. And again, in the town hall is the example. From a pragmatic example, you can see 3 spots more narrow than the one we're proposing, with less space behind them, and people get in and out all the time.
Okay, thank you. And would anybody else in the room like to speak?
Hi, Matt Gibbs, 9 Lincoln Avenue. I think, you know, we've had a lot of conversations as a neighborhood about this. You know, I'm relatively neutral towards the application, but I do think I would like to know, do the current bylaws address what Mr. Brady just raised? Which, can you provide parking in support of a D2 zone in Res B?
Yes.
It's not for me. So the answer is yes. There's a bylaws.
The structure is limited to the B1 zone.
What?
Can you expand upon that?
What did you say, Sarah?
The structure needs to be in the B1 zone, but there's nothing that says the parking, the parking has to be within the zone.
The fact that there's nothing that says it doesn't mean
It
it's allowed.
even, what,
The fact that there's nothing that says that it has to be, doesn't mean that it's allowed.
well, if it's not prohibited under the bylaw, it's allowed. That's the way a
So I'm not an
bylaw.
attorney and I'm not on the ZBA, but I would argue that common sense would say the intent of zoning districts is to provide a designation of use amongst districts. True, fair?
D2 is an overlay district. It's not a separate zoning district.
Help my lay person brain understand that.
D2 is an overlay zoning district within 100 feet of School Street.
Okay.
Which allows 2-family residents.
What I'm trying to understand is, so we're in B. Lincoln Avenue, majority of Lincoln Avenue residents are in B. And those of us that own homes there make assumptions that that means something. No multifamily housing, parking on the street because you're not in a D2 overlay district. But the reality of this property is that a majority of the parking for homes that are in D2 are accessed through B. And if you just look at it, right, there's 4 units. And the practicality of the site is that 1, 2, 3, potentially 4, 5, 6 cars will park behind the properties accessing through Lincoln Avenue. That's the practicality. The parking on the street off of School Street is really for 86. That provides enough parking.
84 and 86.
But it's not 84. 84 comes through School Street.
No.
Again, they do.
84 and 86 are on School Street.
I understand, but they don't park on School Street. They come down Lincoln Avenue and they drive behind 90 and park.
That's another street.
My friend lives in the home.
They're using it like another street.
It's another street. That's how they access it. And this was what the gentleman here raised about the concern about breaking property. Again, this is not for me to have an opinion on. I do believe it's for the board to have an opinion on whether or not that is the intention of zoning. I mean, I personally don't believe that makes a lot of sense. You would have 6. Trying to be fair about this, I think it's 6, maybe it's 5. Parking spots for servicing properties in D2 in B.
But they're parking on the same property, and that's all the bylaw requires.
And I don't know.
Right, I think he's saying they're accessing it through B too. Is that allowed? If you were accessing through D and then parking on B because it bled into B from the.
It's the same, it's a property lot. Parking must be on the same property lot.
Right, but I think part of it is.
Okay, I'm not gonna have a back and forth on this. Yes.
If I may just raise a point, the 2.1 is that that line of argument would suggest, well, if there's a, you know, a D2 street at the end of an R street, you can't use the R street to get to it because too much traffic is coming on the R street to get to the D2 street. Secondly, if you go to the parking requirements, they are uniform in all residential districts. So even if this was entirely, you know, the B district, right? 2 units would still only require 3 spaces. So the density of parking, the requirements, it's not, if you want to say, well, we'll take the B district parking requirements and put it in the back half of this lot, or the back, you know, third of this lot, it would still be 3 spaces. There's no increased requirement for parking. And there's no prohibition anywhere in the bylaw that says X amount of spaces are your maximum per unit. Like there's minimums per unit, right? If someone further down Lincoln Street wanted to own 6 cars and park them in their driveway and wanted to have, you know, them, their spouse, their weekend car, and their 3 high school and college age children all have a car, that's all fine in the B district. You're allowed to have 6 cars for a single family if you want. The idea that 6 cars or 5 cars spread across these 2 structures would be problematic, I think is disingenuous. There's no upper limit the amount of cars someone can put on a lot. The only thing the bylaw is concerned with is making sure you have a minimum number of spaces on the lot. And as we demonstrated tonight, we meet that.
Just, can I have a point of clarification?
We rebut that at least.
I think we've heard your concerns.
He's talking about
parking.
down the end of the street. This is the end of the street where all the cars come in. That's the whole point. There's congestion there. If I have, what he's talking about, the end of the street, it's the end of the street. We're at the beginning of the street where everything bottlenecks and everything
But
is traffic.
the driveway entrance was properly approved by the town. It was appealed. The appeal was denied, and the decision was not appealed.
So, if I may, that's not entirely accurate. It's not entirely accurate because the only reason that it was approved was because the authority of the curb cut moved from the planning board, which is crazy, to the DPW.
But it was approved by town meeting. It was
I understand.
to the general bylaw.
I don't think that's.
It was appealed to the ZBA. The ZBA denied the appeal, and the ZBA decision denying the appeal was not appealed. So it's closed. It's a valid driveway entrance.
Can I ask a question that's not an opinion, that's a question? Would zoning allow, because I think you brought up a good point. If at the end of Lincoln Avenue or any Zone B district, there was a parcel that just so happened to fall into D2 zoning, right? A vacant parcel. Would the development of that parcel be approved by the ZBA or by zoning for development? So the end of Lincoln Avenue just so happens that.
It's not D2 back there.
No, I understand, but that is the situation here.
Not doing
But
I don't think we don't opine on hypothetical situations. But I am looking at the accessory uses table, Sarah.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of, I'm on page 21 in my version, where, you know, there's garaging or maintaining of more than 4 automobiles.
Yeah.
So it looks like this is within our right, you know, to grant a special permit to approve.
no, there's only 3 parking spaces on this lot. And if you look at 6.1, which it refers to parking.
Yeah.
It says required parking shall be either on the same premises as the activity serves, which this parking is on 90 School Street, or located within 300 feet of the building entrance on a separate parcel.
Yeah.
So that even allows the parking behind 86 School. Not separated by a street. Parking is allowed in any driveway serving a single family or a 2-family residence.
Yeah.
So, you know, we don't have a lot of restrictions on parking. We just require 1.5 per unit. Anybody else in the room like to, yes?
Already 7 Lincoln Ave. Is that a common driveway application or does it not need to be?
No.
Okay. Is there any consideration for like safety issues on the street if there's more density of on-street parking? So currently it's difficult to back out of my street because if there's cars parked across, the street's pretty narrow. So if they're parked across, it's difficult for me to pull out. And then if there's cars on both sides of the street, it's difficult for emergency vehicles to get down the street. We have almost 20 children on the street, so it's a pretty dense, that, play area for children. So, and I would agree, like, coming out of there, it's impossible to see out and get clearance when you're entering the street. The other day, I was at the stop sign and someone on the street was coming at me on the right-hand lane. Because that fence is there, they didn't even see my car at the stop sign and they were coming towards me. Not even, they were just taking it on the left lane. So that fence is definitely detrimental. And so I guess I wonder, like, the whole porch fence frontage of the house, is that really in keeping with safety issues for the neighborhood? And now we're adding more cars exiting, as everyone said before, in this very packed, school trafficked area where there's a school path crossing right there. I just think it's a safety issue to have that much activity without a lot of visibility. When they're pulling out of that new driveway, they put up a fence so they can't even see left when they're pulling out and seeing if cars are coming down the path. It's just, there's not much visibility for this quote unquote road now.
But I think the requirement is they're providing the required off-street parking. And the town bylaw decided that 1.5 cars per unit was adequate. One could argue it isn't, but that's what the town did. So the fact that there were cars parked in the street is saying to me that there were houses on the street who are parking in the street rather than in off-street parking. And there's really nothing we can do.
Some of them are coming to that property because it's been rented to a number of people, so they've had overflow vehicles as it is that are parking.
Well, but
my house
we
now.
can't speak to that. Like, if you had 5 cars at your house, we can't speak to that. If you have one, your husband has one, kids have them, whatever your family configuration is, we can't speak to that. I live on Bennett Street. And the whole side of the street is completely filled with cars from people who have more than 2 cars for a single family residence.
It's making it difficult for us to back out of our properties now.
I get it. Okay, anybody else in the room, or should I go to Zoom? I've got hands up in Zoom. Okay. Frank Simmons.
Hi,
Please
yes,
state your
thank
name
you
and
very
address.
much. Frank Simmons, I'm the applicant with Deacon Partners relative to 90 School Street and owner of 90 School Street. I'd like to particularly address the notion of, short-term rentals. And although that's something that we tried in the several years ago, it's not something that we haven't entertained a short-term rental there in over 2 years, maybe over 3 years now. And I'll say that the idea of short-term rentals is just as distasteful to us as it is to a lot of the folks here and across Manchester. So it's neither the intent nor our desire, nor will be engaging in short-term rentals with the existing properties or the proposed.
Thank you. BFMMA, please state your name and address.
Yes, I'm Brian Miller. I live at 92 School Street. I have 2 questions. Number one, the driveway cut that was approved was for a driveway only for 90 School Street. It wasn't for access to 86 School Street. So they should not be allowed to continue to use that driveway to access 86 School Street. That particular had been denied with prejudice in the past. So they didn't ask for access to 86 School Street when they did that, or they needed to have access for a common driveway. Number 2, does the square footage of a lot, which is 6,000 feet in D2, do you get to add the lot size that's in section B to determine how much coverage of the new buildings or the buildings in total will be allowed. Because if you don't use the square footage in Lot B, even though everything is in Lot D2, you come up with 42% of coverage of the building space.
The coverage requirements are specified by lot, not by zoning district.
True. So which number do you get to say is the square footage of the lot where they're putting, so they're proposing to put all this in D2. Well, D2 is only 6,000 square feet. It's not 8,000, whatever, 900 square feet.
It's my understanding it's wherever the largest portion of the lot is.
But you have an exception in the rules for D2 saying that they can't, you don't incorporate the size of the lot for on 3.4.2, that it is accepted from the from using the lot coverage to adjoin it to the lot in unit D2. Zoning bylaw 3.4.2.
Did you find it, Sarah?
Yes. And it says that when a lot is transacted by a zoning district boundary, the regulations of this bylaw are applicable to the larger part of the area of such lot may also be the grant of a special permit from the planning board be deemed to govern the smaller part beyond such zoning district boundary, but only to the extent not more than 30 linear feet in depth beyond zoning district boundary. This provision shall not apply in the residence district D2.
So then what does apply in the residence district D2?
It's the,
I know, that's,
it's the larger portion of the lot. So the majority of this lot is in D2.
Yep.
And so they get to include the whole lot in determining the coverage for D2.
That's not what that says. It's accepted in D2.
What it says is that we're not entitled to a special permit from the planning
Yeah.
board. If we wanted to build the addition into the B district and get those setbacks from the D2 district, we would not be allowed to do so, which is why the building has been designed and stopped before the B district, because this property cannot take advantage of that provision is available to other split lots. So this has been designed specifically with that in mind. Again, to the degree that it helps, this entire application was reviewed. It was pre-submitted weeks in advance to the building inspector to make sure that we are asking for the correct relief and we're not missing anything, knowing that it was likely to be contentious here tonight, unfortunately. If I may, at the end of the day, we're trying to create one more unit of housing. The addition itself fully conforms to every requirement, dimensional or otherwise. Parking, again, we have people complaining that there's too much on-street parking, and we have other people complaining about there's too many people trying to park back there, right? So we can't go both ways with it, right? We could say, okay, we'll only do the 3 spaces, or say, okay, we'll do 6 spaces, whatever you want, right? If you want them off the street, we can do more, but then there's too many people. It's like, it's not people are trying to kill this project. And I guess there may be some bad blood, and that's, unfortunate. But before the board tonight is a very reasonable proposal to add an addition to an existing single family and to execute a change in use contemplated and even arguably encouraged by the bylaw, which is why they make it this one special permit process with the ZBA. We're not asking for any relief or any excuse or any shortcoming to be looked over with this application. We are checking every single box to do this thing, and the variance is just for the front porch. That fence is there, the driveway is there, everything is there, right? The only thing that's not there is this addition we're trying to permit. And that addition will, again, allow another family either stay in Manchester or someone's kids to move back to Manchester. Or a new family to, looking to take access to some of the things Manchester's offering to come in. And, I don't know how many of these you get each year, but I can imagine, given the challenges around this, to find one that checks every single box, dimensionally, parking, et cetera, it's probably hard to come by. Certainly the two before us, for this hearing tonight, weren't.
Would you consider removing the fence? It's come up a few times, the neighbors.
If I can,
Which fence are we talking about? The one along Lincoln Ave?
The one along Lincoln Ave.
Lincoln,
It's been there for years.
again, this is one of those things where, and the additions in the rear, right? Like, nothing we're doing touches that.
it's come up as an issue by a few people. It's compromise.
But people are allowed to put fences
I
anywhere
get
they
it.
want.
I know. I don't live there though.
I think that one of the concerns is just pulling out of the driveway might be a cause for concern. And the picture is rather high,
Is it the one in the corner or the new one in the back?
the new one in the back.
No, I don't think that's what they're complaining.
Is that not what they're
What
gonna?
about the one in school in Lincoln?
Both,
On Lincoln
both
Ave.
are issues.
Okay,
Both-
so-
both block this.
So,
So, and I've come up with this in other scenarios. And a lot of times, the very last 1 or 2 panels will just be.
Step down.
Will step down, just so people can see. Would the owner be willing to concede something like that to alleviate some of the issues?
So the genuine answer is I don't have, the authority before me tonight, and I would hate to lose 6 weeks over.
Well, he's here.
He's
He
here. So
he
if-
could
if-
answer that.
if Frank wants to hop on, but the only point I want to make before Frank hops back on is that new fence in the back, again, this is where we have people arguing, or it's like, whether these are genuine arguments or not, they're attacking this project in conflicting ways. That fence exists because last time, one of the complaints was about having to look through the back of the property, this parking lot. So this fence got built.
I'm not talking about the whole fence.
No, this is the wrong fence that you're talking about. It's the
Excuse
fence
me,
on the
excuse
front.
me. You need to be recognized and you need to state your name and address.
Sorry, this is Wendy Brady, 10 Lincoln Avenue. The fence that the community, the street has the issue with is not the new one that was put up at the back of the property. It's the dark brown fence that wraps around Lincoln Ave into the front of School Street. So it is blocking your view down School Street towards town. Somebody coming up that hill or even a pedestrian walking in front of 90 School Street will literally stop in their tracks when our car pulls up to the stop sign, as will the vehicle. It is that fence that was, I hate to say it, but put up in, I'm gonna try to stay positive here. I believe it was retaliatory, put up in retaliation to some complaints of the neighbors, but that is beside the point. It is a hazard. It is a safety issue. That's the issue at hand, that fence.
Thank you.
So the question I think that Rob has asked is, would the owner,
But that fence has nothing to do with this addition.
That's what traffic.
It has to do with.
But it's safe.
Compromise.
It's a
The number of
compromise.
cars
It's
going in
safe.
and out, if you're.
It's the front fence.
but if you're coming down Lincoln, you can't see, if you go towards school, you can't see around the corner.
Right.
So now we're gonna add more cars into the parking field,
Situation.
okay, coming down Lincoln. That's 2 or 3 more cars. Lincoln
Yeah.
Ave, that's 2 or 3 more cars. Okay, so I think what we're looking for, and maybe not part of our purview, but it's certainly
What's being
worth discussing, is suggesting that we have a safety issue here. Will the owner be willing to compromise in such a way as to make a more safe environment? Is what Rob suggested, and I think that
And if, a point, Jim Brady again, Lincoln Ave, when I was in the zoning board, if we heard things like this going, we would say, I would be possibly likely to maybe approve this if this condition was added. And I know what you're saying, Sarah, is that the parking we're talking about the parking, but parking creates more traffic, which creates more issues, which creates more safety.
That's what I'm-
So the fence becomes more of an issue as a result of the parking. I think that's the point that a lot of people are trying to make here.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna close off public
Great.
comment.
Is there anyone on Zoom? Is there no one else? has
No,
their
we
hand up?
already got the people.
I think that's Rob speaking, correct?
I just think it's a fence
The fence and
on the lot line, which is allowed any place in Manchester, and to say, because you're gonna add another unit on a street that has 8 houses on it.
I know, Sarah,
Maybe
but
10
we talk about screening with arborvitae's and other conditions to decisions. All I'm saying is that, you know, if we're gonna approve this, then as a condition, I think that fence could come down as a compromise with the residents in the area. It's come up by several people. What's the big deal? I mean, we've done it before.
It seems like a common sense approach.
But again, that big fence that was put up in the back, if you're trying to pull out of that and somebody's coming
You're
down the
not
street.
complaining about that.
I'm talking about the fence along.
I know, they're not complaining about that yet,
The other
but
fence.
that will be the next one.
No,
It's on the property owners.
I wanna know.
Hey, I'm not voting. I don't, you know. Okay, but I'm looking at it, what appears to be a common sense approach, which might garner some favor with your neighbors.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry,
It's
I'm not able
nothing.
to, I know, Matt, I'm sorry, I'm not able to, it's locked on responding to Veronica Hobson here, and I can't respond to your text. He's asking me if I want to answer this question. And
That was me.
so, yeah, it's not your fault, it's the Zoom setup, but, yeah, we would consider an alteration to the fence, but I don't think as a condition to the permit, just we'd do it as a goodwill gesture, and we'd lower the fence, you know, either side of that corridor to increase visibility. We're happy to do that. I don't think that really needs to be a condition to the permit, nor is it like really relevant.
Sometimes these things, when they don't become conditions, then they never happen. And
Agreed.
I don't think it's a big deal. to
telling you,
put it in
I'm
writing
telling you what happened.
memorialize it
And I
somewhere.
don't think it's bearing it right to bring it into the condition.
Thank you.
Sarah, it's sort of, Rob brought up the deal earlier where, going across the back of that lot to get to the right of way or whatever we want to call it right now, to the other lot, is how, like we mentioned, if something was ever to happen, these properties got sold. How is that condition in there, and how would that be maintained as a right of way?
So what he suggested and what I was gonna include as a condition, maybe my wording's not as graceful as his, but should the properties of 186 and 90 School Street fall out of common ownership, an access easement over 90 School Street must be provided for parking at 86 School. Is that acceptable?
Yes,
I mean, they have,
Any potential buyer would have to, you know, have a lawyer work that out. With.
but if it's a condition in the special permit, then it's gonna need, when they do the title search, they're gonna see the special permit and they're gonna know they need to execute the agreement. Because it can't be executed now because of the common ownership.
right.
Okay. Okay. So. You want a condition?
I just
Okay.
think it's the right thing to do. It's a beautiful single-family home and you're adding on to it. I think it's very reasonable just to take down the fence or at least minimize it to
So
a
what
good
maybe we
degree.
suggest?
I'm not gonna get into details. I'm just saying like, you know.
We have to, if we're gonna have a
Remove the
condition.
fence then, you know, if it's
No, I
such an
don't
issue,
think
we've
it's
heard about
appropriate yet.
Ford.
Yeah, that's, I think anybody has.
Can I go?
No, I've closed off public comment.
Okay.
How do you write it in such a fashion that doesn't
If
impede,
not, I just,
doesn't impede visibility to oncoming
Because
traffic?
if you're sitting in a car, you're only, you know, you're sitting, That's the problem. All right, if you drop it to, if it's a 6-foot fence, you drop it to 4 foot, it's still gonna obscure visibility.
Make it a stockade fence. I don't know.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think, Frank, are you okay with proposing a number for the board you'd be comfortable with? I heard Frank on mute. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
What about if we lower the fence, you know, for either side of that corner and remove it? It's got a, you know, a panel on either side. So basically remove half the thing so you can see through the fence as well.
Yeah, and use it for, but the reason that fence is there is.
Excuse me, who's speaking?
This is Frank Simmons,
Sorry.
the applicant.
Lori McCarthy, same.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Please say your name.
Yeah,
I know, sorry about that.
Maureen McCarthy, 90 School Street. So we, people with young children live there. And the reason, and people with pets, and the reason we put that fence up is for safety. It gives them nice areas for the children to just go there. I do feel that if you want us, we can cut it down to 4 feet. I think you could easily see over 4 feet. If you want us to take every other panel out, if that you feel like that would help. But there's a lot of fences that are 4 feet, that people can have on the corner. And the other thing
And I appreciate that there's children living there. Let's just make it 4 feet and call it a day. But I get
Great.
that.
Sounds good.
I didn't even consider that, to be honest,
Will you do 4 feet and every other picket, or just 4?
I don't even think you need to do that. That would look goofy.
Okay, 4 feet.
I don't,
A nice one,
yeah.
not too expensive.
I don't,
Money.
All right.
It's just a compromise.
So they have a fence 4 feet high, and everyone can see
At
it
the
on
corner of School Street and Lincoln Ave.
the corner of School Street and Lincoln Ave. Now, is that gonna be, but how far back?
Don't talk about the color, okay?
No, but how far back? Is it gonna be the entire?
We're not gonna go
Okay,
there, Rob.
please. I made my point. I'm done talking about it.
Wow.
So
Two panels?
Is that the line on the sand?
Yeah.
if it makes it just, there are posts on either side of the corner, you take the first post and and bring it down,
So that would be 8 feet,
4 feet anyway.
whatever the
8
panel
feet
width
on
is.
either, on either
8
street.
feet on either side.
Just,
Yeah, I know.
can make one comment?
Uh-huh.
Just, because they had stated, this fence is there for a purpose, for pet and child safety. So we've got to take that into consideration. So I don't know.
Well, if they reduce it to 4 feet high on that,
Isn't that code for swimming pools?
yes,
Okay.
and 8 feet either side. In school.
I'll tell you who's not visiting you. Captain Howe won't be driving down that street.
I have trouble getting out of that street. Okay,
There. Yes.
And so the other condition I was gonna put in was 3 parking spaces are provided for 90 School Street in addition to the 5 spaces currently provided for 84 and 86 School Streets, which are also in the 90 School Street property line. I don't want them adding 3 spaces for 90 and then taking them away from the property.
You get rid of it.
Other thoughts? You have any more thoughts, John?
No.
Rob.
Said enough.
I have a headache. No more thoughts.
John? Kathy,
I,
see them over there.
no, I'm just thinking,
Very intensely.
yeah, no, All good.
So
Your condition is to have 5 parking spaces at 84 and 86 and 3 at 90?
yeah, so what I'm saying is 3 parking spaces are provided for 90 School Street, which is a requirement.
Yeah.
In addition to the 5 spaces currently provided for 84 and 86 School, which are also owned by 90 School Street property owner. And then have, should the properties of 86 and 90 School Street fall out of common ownership, an access easement over 90 School Street must be provided for parking at 86 School Street. Okay. And the reason I'm saying 86 is because all the parking for 84 School Street is in front of 84 School Street. I could expand it if you want.
Wanna play poker?
Okay,
I just sit next to him.
so is there any more discussion on this application?
Doing about the, is there gonna be a condition on the fence?
We talked
Yes.
about it.
It has to be purple.
We don't even know if it's in keeping with the street, the design. We really haven't seen how it's gonna be built. 2 seconds thrown up on the screen, we haven't had a chance to even consider kind of neighborhoods.
The application's been on file with non paper. The reference plans were submitted in 2022, so it's been on file with the town for 2+ years at this point.
We're done.
Is it gonna be fully stucco? Does it match?
Pardon?
Does it match the original house style wise? Is it stucco? Is it different?
It's a separate,
I don't mind.
it's a separate building connected with a 1-story
Old school.
connector.
Reasonable.
A little 1 foot, so you don't think it, I mean, it would be nice to have arborvitae and something, to kind of lost in a different zone. Of this multi-family. Leading in, and I don't know, if fencing is often part of the requirement, but it's really not expensive to buy some arborvitae. These little 1-footers that were planted are not gonna grow for a long, long time. The design is not really apparent to the public at this point. We don't really know what it's gonna look like. Thus far, it hasn't been really for the neighborhood.
It's substantially similar to the existing residence, but turned the other direction. The roof goes the other direction.
Cedar plywood or?
We don't speak to materials. That's not our area of concern. We speak to structure. Okay. I move to close the public hearing and approve the application of Seaside Legal Solutions PC on behalf of Deegan Partners LLC for a special permit under sections 4.2, 5.4, and 12.5 of the zoning bylaw, and or other relief as may be necessary for a change of use to convert an existing single-family residence into a 2-family residence by constructing a 2-story addition with a single-story connector structure to the existing structure at 90 School Street, Assessors Map number 41, lot number 87, in District D1, filed with the town clerk on April 18, 2024, based on a finding that the proposed use is in harmony with the purpose and intent of the bylaw. The proposed expanded structure is appropriate in terms of bulk, shape, location on the lot, and relationship to abutting properties and existing structures within the immediate and general neighborhood. Off-street parking requirements under section 6.1 of the bylaw are met. The expanded 2-family structure will not be substantially more detrimental or injurious to the neighborhood in which it is located than the existing single-family structure. And all conditions under section 12.5.2 of the zoning bylaw for the grant of a special permit has been met based on the following conditions. The expanded structure is located as depicted on the proposed plot plan prepared by Hancock Survey Associates, Inc., dated January 25th, 2024. The expanded structure is built substantially in accordance with the following plan prepared by Helen F. Sides Architect LLC, dated 1/23/24, pages 1 through 6, first floor, second floor, north elevation, west elevation, south elevation, east elevation. 3 parking spaces are provided for 90 School Street in addition to the 5 spaces currently provided for 84 and 86 School Street, which are also owned by 90 School Street property owners. Should the properties of 86 and 90 School Street fall out of common ownership, an access easement over 90 School Street must be provided for parking at 86 School Street. Decrease the height at the corner, decrease the height of the fence at the corner of School Street and Lincoln Ave to 4 feet high on 8 feet on School Street and Lincoln Street. On 8 feet distance from the corner on School Street and Lincoln Street. Do I have a second?
Second.
Rob seconds. Any discussion? Take a vote. Rob,
Yes.
Sean,
Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
Catherine.
Yeah.
And Sarah votes yes. I further move to approve the application of Seaside Legal Solutions LLC on behalf of Deegan Partners LLC for a variance under sections 5.4 and 12.3.3 of the zoning bylaw and other relief as may be necessary to allow the existing front porch to remain, which encroaches 1.9 feet into the front setback based on a finding that owing to circumstances relating to the shape of the land and structure, especially affecting such land and structure, but not generally affecting the zoning district in which it is located, a literal enforcement of the provisions of this bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the applicant by requiring the deconstruction and reconstruction of an existing porch which has existed for many years, and that the desired relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of this bylaw. Do I have a second?
Second.
John seconds. Any discussion? Vote. Rob,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Catherine,
Yes.
Sarah votes yes. I'll write it.
Yes, you will.
Who would like to review it?
I'll review it.
Yeah,
For your punctuation is proper.
you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Now we move to administrative matters. We'll be really quick.
One correction, that's Lincoln Ave for the fence, not Lincoln Street.
Thank you. Oh, okay. We can have. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I haven't reviewed any of the minutes yet, so we'll put those off to next meeting. Okay. The only outstanding decision is one I have at 26 Proctor, which I'll do soon. The only other issue I wanted to discuss tonight, I wanted 2 things I wanted to discuss. Number one, our next meeting is June 26th, which is the fourth Wednesday of the month, because June 19th is a holiday, so I had to move it from the third week to the fifth. And second, some terms are expiring on June 30th. And I
Looking
wanted.
at me,
Uh-huh.
does my term expire? Oh, boy,
So are you going up for another 3 years?
ah,
Yes.
let me think about that,
Okay.
because now I'm on the school building committee, which is gonna
That's a yes.
take a
That's
lot
a
of
yes.
time.
Yeah, we need you, John.
After the bullshit I just, sorry.
Sean, is your term up or not? It was in the town report that it was up, but I thought you were just reappointed last year
I was just.
for 3 years, right?
Well, yeah, because I got swapped with.
Okay.
Numbnuts.
Maybe it's
I
my
didn't- I
turn.
was
to
trying
go.
not to say it. I couldn't come up with another word, I'm sorry.
My term that's up?
Hey, Kat, really need you.
No.
Yeah, you did an excellent job as, my
Hold on,
God, why-
There's another one up. Oh, mine's up.
Catherine,
No,
do you have to go before the select board? Your term?
I don't know.
I don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, I have to do it if I want to. Catherine,
Yes, ma'am.
your term is up.
She just said yes.
Your term is up in 2025. You've indicated a desire to resign prior to that. Is that true, or are you willing to last another year?
I would really like to resign prior to that,
Okay,
but I don't want to leave anyone in a bad position either, so,
we're advertising for the ZBA.
yeah.
If anybody knows somebody interested in being on the ZBA, do you know somebody?
Are you kidding?
nobody wants to do this.
Nobody wants to do this, especially right now.
I want out.
Just
know.
not.
I'll think about it.
Okay,
I.
Do we know
We're
anyone?
gonna announce at the men's club.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Did you sign me up for that men's club?
Fun,
Did you sign me up for that?
tomorrow night?
But we don't have any applications at CBA, right?
just went into cricket last
I'm
night.
signing him in. No, I'll get to the application. list. Can he come tomorrow night?
Just going to that June meeting, I'm gonna be out of the
I
country
haven't signed
that
up
week,
Where are you gonna be?
Okay,
out of the country,
okay, where?
Barcelona.
Oh,
I already got my,
Yeah, Chris Williams.
What's smart there?
okay,
Like probably good.
so have we finished here?
Yeah,
I think we're
No,
finished a long
so,
time
yeah.
ago.
it was a long meeting.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay,
You're very
all in
busy.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
It's very swearing.
Saw all that.
Manchester
So I have
Club.
to swear on record
I
there.
know, that's why I wanted to adjourn the meeting, but I didn't really think it needed to be.
All right, so I'm gonna